That kept me awake. It's
All right, good morning, everybody. We're ready to start. It's a couple minutes after 9 on the clock on the wall. I am Bill Kanda, Custer County Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. And it is October the 5th, Tuesday, 2021. And I'll call this meeting to order. And if we could, can I have the fire chief lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. This meeting is being recorded both on Zoom and YouTube and by our clerk and of the county, Kelly Camper. And so with that, silence your phones if you got them.
Okay.
And I'll ask Tina to remind me to open mine back up. I lose it every time I don't. Also, this meeting can be joined by phone, and we will introduce everybody here in a couple minutes. So Kelly, how about the roll call?
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Lee.
present,
Esteemed Attorney Clint Smith
steamed and present.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper.
All right, good. Thanks, Kelly. Audience introductions. We'll start over here.
Daily Day Wetmore.
Thanks. Back there.
Cariano Buena Vista.
Jason Knutson, Reach Air Medical Services.
Okay.
And Multing, Fire Chief.
Brian Fusco, West Custer County Hospital District Executive Director.
Tina Jones, Administrative Assistant.
Thank you, everybody. And if anybody speaks up during public time, we'll ask them to introduce themselves off of the Zoom call. And we'll know who all's here. You got everybody, Kelly?
I do, except
It's Airmed. Cara.
Cara, K-C-A-R-A.
C-A-R-A.
And what's your last name?
R-E-A-N-O.
Reno.
A-N-O. Got it.
Oh, Leanna. R-A. Oh, thank you. Okay, I need amendments to the agenda. I have one if you want to start off.
No, go ahead.
I understand that
Anything else that I need?
that Braden is not here to participate, our finance director. We may want to table the consideration of the Kids Council resolution because he's got that, and I don't believe, did we get it in? We didn't get it. So why don't we schedule that? Maybe, I don't know if we get time to do it tomorrow, but we would be able to do it middle of the month.
Okay.
And that shouldn't impact it any thoughts on that?
Okay.
Well, we could either strike it or now, or we could table it or postpone it when we get to it on the agenda. Either one.
I think we might as well do it now. We'll take the next one. Want to move for that? Any reason to wait?
Well, I don't know. I wondered if there was a timing thing involved, if
No,
he needed to get this
that I'm aware of.
supplemental budget done before we start in on our stuff. I have no idea. So I'm fine with postponing it. Or yeah.
Be mindful. Don't have anything to even see, right?
No, that's correct. So I would support postponing
All
it.
right, I move we postpone it to. We could have time to put it on the agenda tomorrow, but I don't know that he's gonna be here. Let's just wait till.
It's too late to get
It is, man.
Well, if 24 hours, we can do it at the end of the meeting, but that's a little hard. So let's do it mid-month.
Okay.
And then if he has to have something sooner than that, we'll deal with it. I move that we table it to the mid-month meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move that agenda item to the 15th, and that's
No.
considered
20th.
20th, I mean. Got the budget active. Consideration of supplemental budget for the Custer County Kids Council Resolution number 21-19. All in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. And we'll deal with landfill when that comes up, if Brian's not here for that. Take it. Any other thoughts on that? He's sent a note that he can't be here now.
Right, we have his
We
reports.
got his reports, so we're good with it. Okay, anything else on that? Tom?
You know,
Okay. Approval of the minutes, we didn't have any, did we? No. I didn't see. Commissioner items, Tom.
thank you, sir. Let's see. I attended the short-term rental approval process meeting with the planning commission yesterday. I think they ended up, well, I know they considered 4 applications. There was a little mix-up in conveying to the applicants what all was supposed to be on that application. I looked at the application after the meeting was over with the chairman. And on the front page of the application, there is a section to be filled out to indicate that you have an agent. Well, it doesn't say that that's required on there. So people didn't have an agent. They didn't fill that out. Well, it got to the planning commission and they said, well, why didn't you fill out the agent section? Well, didn't know we were supposed to. Well, in the directions, in the cover letter, or not the cover letter, but part of the statute or the zoning resolution says you must indicate that you have an agent
If you
to act on your behalf if it's not you. So all 4 of them, they went ahead and voted to approve those applications, but not to submit them to the county commissioners for approval or for consideration until they had gotten that wrinkle.
Did all 4 of them have agents?
3 of them did. 1, the owner was going to be the agent. So
He could have done it.
they just need to put owner will be agent. But I think Vic went over to talk to Jackie and say, hey, just put in there, this section must be filled out. It's a requirement. It says so right in the zoning resolution, but it doesn't say so on the application itself. So,
I can update that.
yeah. And then there was a discussion about the legibility of the applications being given to the planning commission, and they just
They filled out forms or
the forms that are
itself.
that Jackie gives to the planning commission to consider, they said they couldn't read about half of them. And of course, then right away, they had a big discussion about whether to get the lawyer involved.
Let me start my clock.
Yeah.
I told them absolutely not. The guy's overpaid now, so. But anyway, they had a discussion about that. And Jackie believed they couldn't require somebody to type or word process that application unless it said so in the zoning resolution, which it doesn't. So they just said, okay, you know what, moving forward, if we can't read it, we won't approve them. So I said, yeah, that's
Way to handle it.
I thought, I didn't say it. I thought, yeah, that's about as reasonable as you can go. Send it back and have them do it again or whatever. So. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was we are currently scheduled to meet December the 15th for a mid-month meeting. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I misspoke.
That December
got moved.
15th meeting's been moved to the 17th.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. I looked on our master schedule and that's a PDF. I can't change it. I tried to change it when we made that change. Sorry, I've got it in my calendar, it's December 17th, yeah. I'm scheduled to be in Nashville through end of the business day on the 14th, so could fly home on the 15th, but obviously we've already had this discussion.
Yeah, we
I
did.
just didn't.
That's a good question, though, but make sure the website shows it has changed, because it'll have the master schedule probably that says the 15th. Get enough changes and grief, missing things like that. So glad you brought it up anyway.
Yeah, unnecessary, but maybe served its purpose. Yeah, I just didn't even look at my calendar. I was looking at the master schedule.
I think we had a
that we approved
discussion
in
last time.
January, so.
Okay, anything else?
No, so that's it.
Kevin?
Pretty short list since the other day. Probably the one thing I will bring up is it's been brought to my attention that in the part of the building over here with zoning and everybody, IT, they would like to see if we could put a fan in the restroom for them over there. So,
Vent?
yeah, a vent fan in the restroom.
Ceiling fan.
A ceiling, well, not necessarily a ceiling.
No, I'm sorry, a vent fan mounted in the ceiling.
There you go.
Friend of mine says that is absolutely the wrong place to put it. He believes the vent fan for a bathroom should be below the toilet somewhere.
Thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah,
So-
Enhances our discussion this morning.
that's right.
So that's a maintenance.
Yeah, if we're all right with doing that by consent, then I'll just address it through buildings and maintenance and see what we can get going.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, and we'll have another discussion on that contract process next meeting. So we'll start the ball rolling on next year's way to handle things. Okay, well, I'm good. Tom,
Yeah,
you
I
wanna
think we
deal with-
might as well. That's kind of a
Say no more. It's
situation.
okay, it needs to be done.
We really need 2 bathrooms over there, but we just have to do the best we can with what we got, so.
Thanks, Kevin. And with that, I have nothing else to add. How about you, Clint?
Nothing really significant. Last meeting, I told you about the judgment that was satisfied in that case with your planning and zoning. And I prepared a release of the judgment lien that I recorded against the property. I just dropped it off with Jackie so she could get that recorded, and that takes care of that one. I did a very rough draft of an RFP
I was
rather,
gonna mention that.
for you.
Thank you for doing that.
Start working on. And I sent you all an email forwarded to you that I got from Brenda Jackson, the county attorney in Fremont County. And I absolutely agree with her legal analysis there about the district attorney's budget request as far as her own salary goes. And that's all I had to talk about.
Okay,
Question if I may.
go ahead.
Do you want to attend that DA budget hearing
It's going to be a Zoom.
Thursday? It can be Zoom or live, either one.
It's Zoom. It will be Zoom.
Are you going to be here? Are you going to the meeting?
I'm going to be, I think Tom
Yeah.
is, and Kevin.
In Fremont County.
Yes, sir.
Thursday. I certainly can if you would like me to be there with you. I'd be happy to attend. I've never even met Brenda Jackson face to face. I've,
Right.
exchanged emails with her for years.
Zoom's not gonna help much.
Um,
He will. It's optional.
And I don't know the other two. They're gonna say, why did you guys bring your great?
Well, it's so strong, man. We bring the muscle.
He's a strong arm of Custer
You know,
County.
she showed up at that meeting in Fairplay with 8 people from her office.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm gonna go.
Well, it was all the investigators and.
Well, there's one guy working for her now. I found out I worked with in the DA's office in Pueblo 40 years ago, so I'd be happy to see
There
him.
was a guy that resembled a dinosaur there, had long tails, big fangs.
Okay, what time is that meeting?
It's 1:30.
And,
Clint, I just sent it.
okay,
If you want to, come.
yeah, that might be fun. In
It'd be-
their Justice Center or.
Right there.
Yeah, the administration building.
Administration building
Oh, that building, okay, we're
Macon and Ninth.
previously their old court.
Fifth and
The
Macon.
triangle,
Macon.
the triangle building, yeah.
Bizarre, that has to be a 70s thing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed down there, all their restroom door things are triangle and all their accent things are all triangle stuff? It was some
Could have
engineer.
been,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Well, it probably would be more exciting if we can get Sheriff Byerly to attend also,
Okay.
He wanted he would
which I
have gone to
would you
last.
send in that meeting invite as well? He was disappointed that we didn't invite him to the initial one. So, yeah, it might be,
Okay.
especially if this salary thing comes up. I doubt it will, but,
I'll be happy, yeah, I'll be happy to go on,
okay.
justify.
Do you have a question,
Salary
Tina?
I get myself.
You got the two invites out. Okay, anything else, Clint?
No, that's all, thank you.
We got another meeting afterwards, sir. I'd invite you to ride along, but
Ride my motorcycle down to what?
Yeah, should be. Yeah, his wife's worried about him, by the way, because he does do that.
It's 3 wheels. I have to pedal like.
You're trying it out.
It's got training wheels on.
All right, Tina, you got anything for us?
No, sir, I don't.
Thank you. All right, any public comments before we get started on any other thing you might want to bring up later or think about today in here? Anybody? Public comment online, anybody? Okay, hearing none, let's press down the path here. Staff report, you're up, Gary, no, I'm sorry, landfill and recycling's on, that's Brian. And so you'll be up next. I got the report and he did a good job of filling it out, or bringing everything that's going on to our attention. Anything you want to comment on, Tom or Kevin?
well, I was just gonna look at his totals here real quick and
Yeah, but, a little more business.
Pretty consistent through the last quarter.
It is. And he's in the middle of all the recycling and remodeling out there.
so it looks. See, second half, so 8,095 commercial yards. To date, I'm assuming that is.
Mm,
As of the end of September.
So he now has a training schedule in place.
Yep, he's got it and he's gonna beat the 30 days that he has to do it, looks like. If he doesn't do it.
Yeah, that was from the compliance.
Yeah.
Goal.
Yeah.
Field training program, and he got it on the 10th.
Yeah, I went out there yesterday. Well, I guess it's landfill / recycling, but I believe they're pouring the pads for that building. Either if they didn't get it done yesterday afternoon, they're going to do it this morning. So that is moving along. And I think once they get pads built, then they'll excavate out and form up and pour the pit for the elevator.
Yeah, they got it remodeled, right, or rearranged, turned it 90 degrees or whatever. The right way to do it for the power, right?
Well, yeah, they were gonna swap the Baylor 180 degrees.
180.
Yeah. And from the emails I've been receiving, it looks like that's a good bill of that. So.
I think you, Kevin.
Oh, I was glad to see you got that other, so he was back in compliance and they pulled that.
I think he may be planning on going over to Grand Junction tomorrow. Baylor.
And okay. Anything else? I move we accept that report if we need to do that. I think
Yeah, I'll second it.
we can say accept it. Kevin, all in favor, say aye.
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 And I. Okay, Gary, you're up. Welcome back.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good.
See you.
Yep, thanks.
Dog. Oh, did I say that? I didn't say that.
Now, Tom is saying that because he gave us 3 months notice that he's gonna retire in the end of December. So, he's gonna do some training of the new guy if we get one before then, and that's gonna be a hard one to do. We have to make some movements here.
Yeah.
So you didn't feel compelled to ask us?
If
our
I could,
opinion? Yeah,
no.
I gave him my
I
opinion.
see.
So you
Just
do.
decided.
Yep.
Well, after I read, Tina says that this is your deal. She just saved your report. And it said road and bridges report. I told her there's no S on bridges. And then she says, well, she didn't do it. You did it. So if you are the culprit, then you're out of here, pal.
I would hope we have more than one bridge in this county.
Yes, we do.
So it could be roads and bridges report.
Oh, no, it's road and bridge.
Oh, it is? Why is that?
That's just what it's always
I was
been.
afraid you were gonna say that. That's exactly right. Oh,
That's what they made us call it. All right, Gary, what's the highlight?
Well, I discovered this morning when I was out driving around. I checked a couple of roads before I came here, and we got a phone call at the Road and Bridge Department about 2 weeks ago, and it was from an individual that lives over in Antelope Valley, and they were visiting with one of the local realtors, and the realtor, I guess there's an issue over on Drunk Horse where a home is being foreclosed on. But anyway, I assume it's the owner that's taking items and they're putting them out on the county roadway in the right of way. And then according to the realtor that Sherry talked to, it becomes the county's responsibility to dispose of all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we got into this once before.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd never heard such thing.
So it's a free trash service.
Well, I guess so, but the thing of it is, in my mind, if it gets around that that's the way it really is, then
What stops everybody?
it opens the floodgates. I mean,
Right.
but this
Well,
is,
And you might ask Jackie, I think on this other deal, there was a dumpster placed there
mhm,
and the owner had to pay for that.
mhm. Well, that's what
You remember that, Clint?
I should have printed that off, but that's, there's all sorts of furniture out
Well,
there.
yeah.
Well, and then there's an old camper and then there's an old pickup. But then when I left there, I went over on Camp Ballou and I got another picture on there of 2 abandoned vehicles on Camp Ballou, just right off the shoulder of the roadway. So,
It's like he's having a garage sale on the side of it.
And that's not pick it up for free. That's his new landfill approach, huh?
yeah, he was told, this individual, I believe, was told that he had to get that stuff off of the property. And so he did, and he just took it outside off the property and put it in the ditch.
What legally, that doesn't make sense. I know we're responsible if trash blows around and gets in.
So is the owner, the person still around?
That I couldn't tell you.
Must be.
I don't-
Is there a realtor involved here?
I believe so,
And you said that's on Drunk Horse.
yeah.
Got an address?
Well, I don't want to do anything until I go pick out a few things here.
Well,
Looks like there's some pretty good stuff.
how about it, Carl? We're in a pretty tight ship around here.
But, no, we probably should have the sheriff, somebody's got to get that off there. That's in the county right away. You can't
You can't do that. I mean, if it's something that blows off or something happens.
That's over on, Panorama, a totally different road.
And they just think they can just put them out there and leave them there, huh?
I guess so. I've not run into this in 5 years of being.
You know, my trash service is going up. I might start doing that.
Yeah, this is a different road where they
Well,
just abandoned. I don't know
Are
where.
they doing it somewhere else?
Yeah.
the sheriff can contact the property owner, the one who did this.
We might get the fire department involved in the vehicles. They might use them for training. There's not much left of one
It
of
looks,
them.
That looks like
they
a
already,
strip.
Yeah, it looks like they already have. That's right.
yeah, it looks like they already used one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I would think, contact sheriff's department and then Jackie and eventually get
They
around
can't
to.
put stuff, just dump trash on the county right away.
You want to do that?
We
Glenn?
may have
Do you
to.
want to talk to Shannon or you want me to?
I don't want to even
I'll,
talk to me
I'll
if you
get
need.
him. I gotta talk to him.
It's a different
Well,
road.
Gary knows the address. and
Oh, Gary has
all
it.
that.
Why don't you talk to Shannon and then,
If we don't get results, then we'll
Well,
hatchet man back there, but
Matt,
Was that up, you take the kind of curve to the right, and there's two houses or something, a gate.
yeah,
So there may be more to that. If it's the same house that I'm thinking of, the guy was evicted from his ex-wife's or deceased wife's estate. And they showed up and just the moving company just threw his stuff out.
wow.
There's some biohazard issues if it is the same.
Did you see the picture?
I didn't see it, but at the road, I'm
Buck and rail fence. along-
have you seen in the trash or is this just you knowing something else that we don't?
no, we ran on the call to assist with,
that's additional stuff that's showing up.
that might or might not be,
Yeah.
but Shannon will know the address because SO and everybody's out there.
Okay.
Well, no, I
You, you got the address to both
The
places?
sheriff's office.
If you know.
Yeah, I can. I don't have.
Yeah, talk.
What's that mean?
Yeah, if we need to get the attorney involved with the nastygram or something, I guess we can, but
I sure hope we don't.
you don't want to start a precedent and then people just throwing their junk out on the.
Yeah, I hope we don't have.
And on that second one, the cars are 3 foot out into the road.
Yeah, it prevents us from being able to do the proper road maintenance if we want to blade the road.
Well, it's a traffic hazard to boot.
Well, and I don't have a clue where they're coming
Well,
from. I
there's
should have
nothing
checked
else
if
that
there
we
was some
have
tags
to
on.
take steps to haul that away or tow those things away. Then we can, put a lien on the property.
Right.
And somebody's gonna pay for it eventually for the, whatever we have to put into it to clean that.
Yeah,
up.
it's not free. It's
So-
not it's not a service.
No, if it was, all my trash would be out there right away. And Gary, time's running out. If you can Elk Creek grade paved all the way to my property.
Oh, that would be great.
But that does remind me, and I was gonna mention this, Terry, because you missed our last meeting, I think. And I got a real bad road complaint on Oak Creek, actually. And he said, have them stop doing such a good job of maintaining. it."
Oh.
People are speeding now, and he was dead serious. So,
Yeah, I've heard that.
but in given that, it probably means that, are there enough signs on the speed out on these roads and maybe
Oh,
that
there
way
could
it'll
be.
help. I know they'll do it, anyway, but it helps remind them, and especially if Shannon can get a car out there once in a while, which they have been doing. I've seen them in places where out on our roads near us and on other places that I've driven to look at things.
Yeah, I can put some additional signs out.
Wouldn't
In
hurt.
fact, I just ordered some, so we'll see if we can find a placement for some out there and get some more.
Are you talking about speed limit signs or
Yeah,
you can put those out?
Mhm.
Doesn't have to go through the SO.
No, they just leave it up to us.
Huh? Didn't know that.
on all of them. I had him out there on several roads, putting different kinds of speed and child, beware of children thing. Kind of.
Has already got where Oak Creek grade turns into, gravel, but asking please everybody
Oh.
slow down.
Yeah, he does. I'll tell you what'll stop would be right before that turn going down that big hill. It says, warning, attorney's house.
No, don't do.
County attorneys, slow down.
Why don't you just paint a bullseye?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Other than that, we're hauling material continuing.
Yeah, and you put too many signs. Every sign you put up is a maintenance issue or a target.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But
Yeah, that reminded me of another. Oh, we gotta keep the several names have been turned, the Horn Road, Macy Lane, Hermit, that kind of thing. Keeping your eye on it, but someone's missing.
yeah, I did see a couple missing. They need to get
I don't know
replaced.
where people are borrowing them.
Yeah, they like to do that.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
No, that's about all I've got.
Questions, anybody else?
Do
Go ahead.
sir, if I may. Fuel systems
Mhm,
upgrade
mhm,
or replacement, whatever you want to call that.
mhm.
Is that going to be in your 2022 proposed budget?
Yes.
And I think Kevin and I had a discussion about, maybe you and I did as well, about entities utilizing your fuel system, picking up a percentage of that upgrade cost, either through their budget process or through an increased fuel price.
Yeah, my thought was I would go back for a whole year and see what percentage differences is for each agency. And maybe we could base it on that. Like the planning and zoning uses 5% of the total for the whole year. And maybe pitching in 5%, which would be about 6,000 maybe or something like that. But yeah, that's what I'd like.
The problem with that is now that you'd have to get those numbers to ambulance, assessor, landfill, OEM, P&Z, search and rescue, sheriff, Silver Cliff, West Cliff, and fire within the next few days, right? Because they have to be able to get that in their budget before they present their budget to us on the 12th.
Ideally, yeah, and I could actually have that by the end of the day.
What, brings up a question of what legally is Road and Bridge supposed to do or can do?
Well, you mean as far as this upgrade?
Yeah, no, not just the upgrade, but the fuel costs and all that. Yeah. All the county vehicles take gas.
Mhm.
You-
They get their fuel down
Yeah, and then what have you been doing? Has anybody ever been reimbursed?
there. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
They do that. So
Yeah, it's tracked and then,
it's tracked, so that tracking ought to be able to help defray some of that other cost. for the-
yeah, we've got a spreadsheet that shows exactly what percentage each agency uses
Mhm.
as far as our fuel. And how much, the,
And they would have to budget for it in next year's budget.
Right. yeah, and I can have that printed out.
Well, we have we have just your bar graph of the
Right.
usage for last year, but not.
Not,
Well, This
Agency.
this is from August to September.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I will bet you the annual would look very similar to that.
it does.
I guess I bring it up as a question, number one, who makes that determination? Should entities help defray the cost of this system? And if so, to what degree? And if it is a budgetary thing, at least within the county, fire, Silver Cliff, West Cliff, I don't know that the timing is quite as critical there, but within the county umbrella, they'll need that this week.
I don't know, that's a good question because you have to have the system. The system costs X no matter how many gallons gets pumped through.
Mhm.
Um,
It's just, with all the other agencies using the system, there's extra wear and tear.
Might be worth looking at what does Fremont County do? Big outfits.
I would imagine they've got a set fuel system set up.
Do you have a rough idea how much money we're talking?
Byron leads me to believe it's gonna be about 105, 110,000. We're trying to put together a meeting with the companies that could upgrade the fuel system and a couple of other agencies, because we're gonna have to have more than one agency involved, because there's some concrete work that's got to be done possibly and things like that, but it's just hard to get it all coordinated. And I left it up to Byron to let me know when he can set that meeting up. And he he's supposed to get back with me. And, that's kind of where it's at right now.
Do we need to take action as a board to give Gary direction on how we want him to proceed with this, or do
We
we?
need options for sure.
Well, they either pay their part or they don't, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
good.
key.
It's,
So
yeah, I don't see where they could be forced to pay it, but I don't know.
No, if they don't want,
I guess.
if that's what we decide and they don't want to pay it, then they buy their gas somewhere else.
That's still
something
impacts
that
the county.
So I suppose the two options, speaking to you, I think would be whether they contribute up front or whether they contribute by an increase in the cost of the fuel to them.
And I would say that's a Gary thing for me personally. It wouldn't
Yeah, I
matter to
think so,
me,
too.
but
Yeah, I think, yeah,
I think ultimately, even if they're gonna share it, I think probably you need the budget for the entire amount anyway.
Yeah, even if we get.
well,
reimbursed
absolutely.
for it, sure.
It's gotta be.
And then hope for the best that they'll
yeah, you
contribute.
can't wait for,
No.
when do you have to replace it? What's your plan?
Ideally, just sometime next year. Like when the weather season for the work to take place, the trenching and things like that. It's just that right now,
Well, then that-
it gives us problems and it's not reliable. So
Well,
the
yeah,
best
that-
thing is to just replace it and be proactive and hope that it doesn't go down and not be able to be fixed sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty, that's time to check things and
Oh, yeah.
make a decision.
But as far as these percentages and the dollar amounts that each agency would have to kick in, based on the percentage of uses, I could get that together by the end of the day and I could get it sent out at least.
Well, let's use fire, for example, because we got the old fire starter back there. Yeah, I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that if we said to these entities, especially non-county entities,
Mhm.
we need you to chip in to help defray the cost of this upgrade at this rate. And Chief Nolting says, well, we could go up the street and buy our gas and save money based on the rate you gave us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's got to be fair and equitable.
Sure.
If we want to honor a relationship with those other entities. If, let's say we opted for the price per gallon to reflect that. And that ended up being more than they could go down the street and buy gas, then I would guess they go down the street and buy gas.
Well, it could be a deal where if I found out what each percentage dollar amount was for each agency, maybe instead of or give them the option of either contributing that entire amount in 2022 or else defray the cost by and use 2 years as an increase in fuel
price.
and just spread it out.
Yeah.
Right.
And then once it's over, go back to the normal,
Right.
what we pay price.
I got a quick question then on that. We don't pay a state use tax, do we? Or so it should not be, I mean, I don't know how you'd ever buy it cheaper on the street.
No, what's been done in the past, when you have to buy it and pay that sales tax, you have to get reimbursed from the state for it.
Right.
And that's a process.
But
You
that's
gotta
a process to do.
file paperwork and things like that, which is what I used to do where I came from.
Right. Well, it's worth looking into and seeing if there's something that other counties do because of similar circumstances, because they pump a lot of gas out of Fremont County and they probably have several systems, so,
Yeah.
or other places.
Well,
Whatever you're-
and this is,
I like the idea of sharing it.
yeah,
Now, I think our county entities, we just tell them, prepare your budget to cover a percentage of the cost of the upgrade, Miss Human Services.
yeah.
Not that she-
And it wouldn't. I don't
Let's see where she
very
is.
much, because you guys don't hardly use it.
Oh, we don't.
She didn't even show up on the bar graph. You're so minusculely.
Well, we are minuscule in some areas.
I mean,
But are you buying most of your gas on the card or at Road and Bridge?
Oh, no, at Road and Bridge.
So-
When we use,
When you're here.
The
when
big-
we use the car,
Right.
we fill it up
Sure
here.
you do.
I mean, unless we happen to be up in Denver or something,
Right.
but we usually fill up here. Even if we go to Denver, we fill up here and we probably have enough to get solar fill up here.
And save money.
Yeah.
The big dog at the draws would be the sheriff's department.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Probably about it.
Yeah.
Everybody else is small drinks.
County entities,
I
I
guess
think,
landfill.
need the opportunity to put it in their budget.
They get their own fuel delivered out
That's
there,
right, David.
so they hardly use anything out of our
So
system.
that's not, if it's going to be a much share, it's not going to be a lot.
Yeah, West Cliff, Stover Cliff gets some, but it's very little. Mostly it's just, it's probably us and the sheriff's office and then the fire department. Tapers off from there.
Right, I forgot about the sheriff out there playing with the fire engines all the time. Makes a big difference.
Ultimately, it'd probably be easier. And I guess I'll look at you, Matt. Do you feel it'd be easier for you guys to take the hit? Price per gallon, or if there was a set price to contribute towards this new fuel system, which would you guys see as more palatable?
I think it'd be easier for me to pay upfront through the budget, exactly, here's the set amount, this is what.
And they're not worried about it.
Yeah.
Do you
Not have to
have a graph for fuel, the bar graph?
Looks like sheriff's office about 19%.
Pretty skewed.
I would guess
Yeah,
it's $100,000. Fire might be looking at 4,000 or 5,000.
that'd be my guess off the top of my head.
And I would assume that would be, we would request their participation in offsetting the cost, right?
Mhm.
Can't force them to do it.
No.
Could change the combination on the gate, but
Well, it's an MOU, just have an MOU signed. So,
All of a sudden, the key cards.
I would bet money we probably don't have, and I'll bet you we should have an MOU.
So let's do that. It's got, it's 6,000 gallons compared to 1,000 compared to 300. So
Yeah.
that's not,
And really, yeah, the MOU would only be non-county entities, right? Silver Cliff, West Cliff, and the
Mhm.
fire.
and the sheriff is gonna have our, works.
It's gonna be under the county.
Right, it's under county.
Right now, our system's wireless, and that's what we want to get away from. We want it to be hardwired, so that we don't have the failures like we do. So,
All right, let's move along then. Anything else, Gary?
my replacement, how do you guys want to?
We're gonna have to get a job description.
Want me to advertise
Yeah,
for it?
we're gonna have to,
How long would you like me to advertise for it?
as long as it takes. Yeah, we need to get that out. I'm glad you brought that up. Soon.
Like in locally, just the local two newspapers, or?
Well, I think we ought to reach out to the national publications connected to road and bridge and asphalt and paving, don't you?
It wouldn't hurt, sure.
We can do that, and then, of course, county people that are eligible ought to have a preference point, like a veterans point or something, but we need to get the process however we want to.
And then when would you want to do interviews for it? So,
Well, let's give them, we've got, 4 weeks? We need it out on the street at least 4 weeks. So, agent on that. That'd be in the first week in November.
well, I'm going to throw this out there. I plan on working like 20 hours a week even after I retire. So, I mean, I could even work for Road and Bridge. So, I'm going to be working. Running.
Come back like we did part-time and
Yeah, work part-time, like a couple of days a week. So if I'm going to be around, I can still continue to help
that would be
somebody
a good way.
in that
It's
position.
gonna be hard to find somebody this quick at the end of the year.
Sure. So that's something I would take up for the new individual and visit with them about if that's a possibility. I could work like 20 hours. I'm going to work somewhere. I'm not able to sit
They can
home
retire.
all the time. No, not completely. So.
I think we could have a vacancy announcement prepared for the week of the 12th, the 11th, a holiday, but
Yeah, I've got a job description.
You got that, and we can,
That I could use.
4 weeks later is middle of November.
And I could shoot this out to you guys and get your opinion.
Sure,
Once you
yeah,
give me the
absolutely.
okay, then I could go ahead and get it
Yeah.
advertised. And
Okay.
we've just got to figure out
You can get it to us by Friday.
How about we close that period like the 29th of October?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
And then,
Well, if it's out on, that's only 2 weeks.
Well, if I got it prepared by Friday, we could run it the week of the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Run it for 3 weeks.
yeah. Or in the 4 weeks, the first week in November, and then
November, run it by Friday, the 5th of November. All right. So let's see where we are.
Is there Colorado Association of, it's not CalFo. What's the paving?
Oh, the asphalt, I'd have to look.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I know what
Maybe
you're
we
talking about.
send out vacancy announcement to them and maybe council's landfill and public. Oh, I don't remember, but yeah, I'd like to see us, get some at least statewide coverage on this vacancy.
And do you want the applications to be sent here or?
Send them into HR.
Okay.
They can pull it together. And
And then once,
they'll get it process set up, but we ought to have it by 5th, all applications closed, but then
you want to run it, okay,
next week.
they have to be in by 5 PM or 4 PM on the 5th.
Yeah,
And then you guys, once you get the application.
and they'll set up an
figure it out.
interview schedule and see who the applicants.
Yeah, if we can post the job description through Braden on the website. And then really, I would think between you and Braden as our human resource person. I don't have a problem with you guys doing all of that and bringing a recommendation to the
Right.
board. That's how it really
That's how it
should
works.
happen.
You can get Reggie to help you write a press release if you wanted to. But rather than just, here's a bland job description, make it, it's important, an opportunity to.
Okay. Sounds good.
What do you think? I guess probably we ought to have a conversation with Braden too and see what his.
Yeah, with it being a department head, whether we're involved or not in that process.
Right.
Or in the interview and the selection.
So maybe we'll
We
visit
hire.
Braden too and figure out what that process might look like. Maybe it's the 5 of us doing the interviews. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. That would have to be the case.
See, on that, yeah. And I like going and getting it out there, but I
Actually-
don't wanna preclude anybody
Right.
that might be qualified in-house.
Yeah,
Well,
anybody
that's
can
like I
apply.
said,
Well, yeah, it
They
opens
have
it up in-house and
Sure.
has to be.
out.
Actually, we're the hiring authority, not anybody else. We do the interviewing, but the other, sort of like we've done with all the departments that work for the commissioners. Have people sit in and submit questions for us to ask
Mhm.
and listen.
Mhm.
Like we did before. All right,
Sounds good.
thanks.
All right, sir. Thank you.
That.
Yeah.
See you later.
See ya.
We'll get your trash picked up.
Trash service.
There'll be some out on.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Get that attorney.
Ben
signed.
said he'd take all the furniture.
Okay, Lori, you're up, and Adam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Oh, just going crazy.
Peachy?
No,
Well, it wasn't a very far trip. was
no,
it?
no,
Okay.
no, it's just right there,
Right
you
there,
know,
just next
just,
door.
just right there next door. That is for sure.
All right, what's your hot buttons here today?
what's my hot buttons? We're gearing up for leap season. We are busier than heck. Propane's going through the ceiling. We've got everybody trying to get in here and get help with the propane. So we're going crazy with that. We got court case today that we just found out we have. You can leave that
That's for
there.
people who boo-hoo while they're giving
Give me
their
that.
staff report.
We got a couple APS cases going on right now that we're trying to figure out what we need to do, how we need to handle them. So yeah, it's just been crazy time here, and I don't think that it's going to slow down. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it is. It's just crazy. We did get our energy outreach money, so they only gave us 5,000 again this year. And if you find that, but this one is still the old one. The new program year did not start until yesterday, well, 1st of October. So that one, but I was hoping for a little.
You were hoping, but you expected 5.
Yeah, well, I asked for 10. I got 5. So,
Ask for 20.
and then they give you this amount of money, and then they tell you that you can, it used to be, we could give up to $500 to help somebody. Now we can give 1,000, but we don't get any more money. So none of that makes a whole lot of sense to me, but that's how we do these things.
I like your new report style.
Well, I know. And you will not see on the reports here, you will not find one for food assistance because my lovely system that I usually pull these reports off of course, they had to do a modernization for, and I couldn't get into it until I loaded Firefox, and that had to be done by Astonish. So they think they finally got that loaded, although they think that that's an unsecure thing. So why would you set it up like that? It just drives me nuts. So anyhow, I don't have that because I still haven't been able to get into that system to pull that report to show what our food benefits are. We are still doing maximum food benefits. Still don't know when that's going to stop. Medicaid is still at, everybody is locked in. Everybody is going to still be locked in until February, where they will then send out mass redeterminations. There is over 500,000 people on Medicaid right now, and they're going to send out all of these redeterminations. So we're not looking forward to that because that's going to be a big hit coming our way.
Why are they doing it?
Because people are locked in right now. And so there are people who, when we did a redetermination, should not be eligible, but because they're locked in because of COVID, they still are.
Oh, I see.
So then they have to send out, they told us to work this report. We spent time working a report to make sure. And now they said, don't work that report. We're not going to do it that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to send out a redetermination to everybody, and you're going to have to work those. And we said, you better not send those all out at once.
Yeah.
And they said, we're working on how we're going to send these out. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's a day-to-day thing on all of this stuff. We're just trying to keep ahead of that. So
That's the system with 500,000.
yeah. They're trying to figure out, and we ask questions and they say, we don't know yet. We're still finding out stuff from the feds. So yeah, we're a little crazy right now. And if Social Security does their increase or COLA increase where everybody's Social Security goes up, then we get a big hit on the ones that didn't update. And so then we have to manually go in and put those in. So this is just a crazy time right now. So we're just like, wow. So, but we're trying to get through it. So like I say, we're trying to get through it. But yeah, we're thinking leap where we've already got a lot of applications in because propane is going through the roof. And we just heard that North was going up another 10 cents, and they're cheaper than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
So we're going to get hit hard on leap. And so, and I think with energy outreach, we're going to see some people hitting us for that too, because they're probably not going to get as much as they're not going to get enough leap to handle all of the propane. So they're gonna be hitting us up with that. And I do have some community service block grant money. I got a gal coming in October to do a review. She has to review us every few years. And hopefully I'll find out more from her if we're gonna get any more money from her.
Examples of expenses eligible under the community service block grant.
Rent, utilities,
Oh, utilities included.
Yes.
Propane could be.
yeah, oh yeah. Dental, we do dental, we do prescriptions. We used to do vehicle repair. We don't do that anymore. They cut that out.
You said you have an allocation. Is it the old one or?
Which one for for community service block grant? Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one we got in, actually, we got the money in February. It was crazy. So we still have, we have money right now, but I'm gonna find out from her if she knows when we're getting our new allocation. Because sometimes they don't know, and we don't get it to March or April, so that money's got to hang in there.
You have to reapply every year.
Yeah, well, we're in with Fremont Chafee,
So who's the lead writer then? They?
Fremont, Upper Arkansas Council of Governments is the one that handles that, and then we're just the little branches.
Percentage of.
We're little branches, and they divvy up the money as to how,
Do
what.
you get a requirement put into them?
No, they never even know how much money they're gonna get. And so they look at it and they kind of base it on what our expenditures are. We've gotten more money because one county was not using their money, so they gave it to us.
Okay.
So we said, thank you, because she said, you guys use yours all the time.
Yeah.
And so they watch us like that. They're real good about that. And so we just never know. She'll just say, this is what they've given us, and so we're divvying it up, and this is going to be your share. And if we give more, if we get more, we're going to send it your way. So that's how that usually goes.
But you can react fast enough to make it worthwhile. I mean,
Well,
not wasted.
oh, no. I usually am right there with it. I'm usually hanging in there and going, need a little bit more money. So, yeah. Because of the rental and stuff, that's where we see a lot of it is rent and utilities.
Mhm.
Although I've done dental, I've got a dental application right now sitting in there. So you never know.
Reverse.
TFAB is our, yes, the food,
Can you tell me what the T stands for?
temporary.
How long we've been doing this temporary?
Well, I know.
program?
It's just TFAB,
Yeah.
a temporary emergency food
Right.
assistance program. Yeah.
So the
TFAB.
idea behind the whole program at some point had to have been a temporary assistance program.
When
right?
this first started, they did it to get rid of their excess cheese and butter. Way back when. And we basically had cheese and butter. And then they branched out, and now Karen Share and all those places they get. And so, yeah, it started out with getting rid of cheese and butter. We do get cheese and butter sometimes,
Well,
but
I've always looked at it like it's temporary assistance. You don't always automatically deserve it.
well, it's also, yeah, because it's also,
It's not a given.
it's not-
I've always looked at
that's true, because this one has a income
the
level.
temporary part.
It has an income level like, I'm gonna get this wrong, my sister's pantry or whatever that is, cupboard, my sister's cupboard that comes from Penrose. I don't know what they do, but cards just line up and they just hand it out. We have to make sure that the people's income is below a certain guideline. And so we're a little bit more, and we just can't, people are going, I got some extra food. Can you take that? No, it has to be TFAB food. And so we can't do that. We're not allowed to do that.
I think it's my neighbor's cupboard.
I think it is too. Is that what it is? Oh, my neighbors, see, there was a place in Pueblo years ago called My Sister's
Oh,
Closet.
yeah.
So I always get that.
Another
mixed-
cupboards.
Yes,
Although your neighbor could be your.
well, but see,
Here we go again.
Well,
You got something else, Kevin? I got a question.
I was at Oktoberfest in Levita, and there was a booth set up, and it was My Sister's Pantry, and these two, they were sisters, and they made
Yeah.
spices and stuff and shared them. So see, that was
There you
in
go.
my head too.
So what all is involved in these, I guess, if you end up having to do the redetermination on the Medicaid, what all is involved in that then?
So we get the application, we have to, depending on what kind of Medicaid program it is, we have to verify income. we may have to verify other things, then we have to enter it into the computer system. And so it takes a little while.
Is that an annual?
We do those annually for anybody that's on now, and they stagger them. It depends. They're good for a year. So if somebody applies now, they wouldn't be due until the next October. But because of that lock-in, they're gonna, people have been redeterminating all the time. Although our system, Medicaid does a thing called auto re-enrollment. And on certain Medicaid programs, even if they don't return the redetermination, it auto re-enrolls them. And we've definitely been seeing that because of the lock-in. So we know there are people out there who are not eligible anymore, but we can't do anything about it. And so you just have to wait for that lock-in to go out. But yeah, it's gonna be a workload.
It takes time. But you're fully manned now.
Well, we're fully manned. The other thing is they are requiring us to scan all of our applications into the thing. It is a very slow process because we can scan maybe 1 or 2 cases and then the thing just kind of stops. And it's not an easy scan because let's say I have 4
Bank
kids.
Statements or whatever.
Yes, 4 kids in the household. I have to, and I have 4 birth certificates. We have to individually enter every one of those birth certificates.
Sure.
It takes a long time. We have 2 scanners. We talked to the gal that does this and we said, can we get 2 more scanners? And we can teach our 2 people or some of our people how to just scan these in. And they said they don't have any more scanners. We could buy scanners at $800 a pop. So I don't know. I'm going to probably put those in our budgets. Then the 2 people have to be able to get into CBMS, which is our program. They could have what is called, they'll have to take a class to be able to even get in there.
That's a good thing to budget for and see.
It is because we're not going to be able, the 2 of us,
I do a job.
we cannot get this done. It is just, anything new that comes in, we're scanning them. But when we have to go back 3 years and collect all of this stuff for 3 years and scan that in, it's massive.
Why can't they just start here and go forward?
They won't let us do that. Well, we can, except because they pull our cases. The state pulls our cases and they have to be able to see 3 years back as to what was going on. So that has to be in there. And so we've got cases like this and we're going through those. And anything new we do, but when we try to do redeterminations, we're trying to do that. And we got stacks like this that we can't get scanned in because we don't have time to do it. So we're just going to have to figure out something else because we just can't do it.
I'm gonna have to cut you short here a little.
That's fine. I'm
I
good.
got a question.
Okay.
The van that was gifted to the county, have you been using that at all yet?
No.
Is it licensed now? Why?
I think we're still looking for a title. aren't we?
Do you have the title?
title.
Oh, you have
I'm
the title.
just looking for some money and somebody to come do it.
Okay.
Well, that's what I thought. So I'll get, it gets Dr. Brown. Is that who we're gonna ask to follow through now? I don't think.
It wasn't donated to you.
No.
No, donate, I know, but it was there.
Public health.
Public health has it, but that was available because it's got a wheelchair capability that to be used by anybody.
Yes.
that-
And we haven't used it. We haven't had a
That's
need
why I
for it.
asked it.
Yeah, no, we haven't had a need for it. We
I'm
haven't.
not
used it.
asking you to go get a license.
Oh, no, but no, we haven't used it. We haven't had a need for it.
Well, we'll have to make sure that happens. It's been wallowing.
Okay,
That way it's available.
okay,
So one other question,
okay.
what if anything has your department done about vaccine mandates?
Oh, Lord, here we go. Well, the state has required that for adult protection and that they have to be, the caseworkers have to be vaccinated.
Okay.
Because if they need to go into a nursing home or a state-run facility is how they are classifying that they need to be vaccinated. So the 2 caseworkers have got their vaccines. So it doesn't say, like my child support worker needs to have that. So they're talking about people who have interactions going into state-run
So it
facilities
wasn't
at this
across the
time.
board public health workers.
No, not the one that I saw. The one that I saw came directly from the state, from the Adult Protection Services, telling them that they needed to be vaccinated because of that.
So you're up to snuff.
So we're up to stuff on that right now.
That's two people in your office.
That's two people in my office. So I don't know if they're going to do anything else. I don't know. Have you heard something else?
No. I
Okay.
have not.
Yeah. And so that's all I know about that one. And yeah, both of them are vaccinated. They both have their shots. And so they're good right now. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We don't have a county mandate, do we, for vaccinations that I'm aware of either? Okay.
Thank you for being here and
Thank you.
giving us an extra great report.
Oh, yeah, that was exciting, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Oh, yeah, very exciting.
Don't have me awake.
Oh,
Well,
Don't worry.
I'm glad to know that.
It's always hard to follow that. You can't follow that like that.
You might have to change the schedule.
I know, right? Let me go first and set the bar low. That's the way it is.
All right, what's your hot buttons today?
I don't know. I'll be quick like usual. I don't have very much to report at all. It's a busy month. We've been filing a lot of VA claims, a lot of first time VA claims. Kind of finding a lot of new vets in the county that have never come in and never utilized any services. So we've been, kind of
They're surprised to know that they could.
Yeah, quite a few. There's that. Been in contact with Mount Carmel. I don't know if you're familiar with Mount Carmel out of Colorado Springs, big vet center.
Yeah.
Down there, and Bob McLaughlin, the CEO, they're really interested in partnering with the VSO office and bringing some resources down into Custer County, mainly financial resources.
To do what? Why?
To do anything to help vets out, essentially any way that I see fit. Right now, a lot of our funding comes from the Veterans Trust Fund, which is the state money managed through the VFW. And there's a lot of strings attached with that and a lot of bureaucratic paperwork. And they kind of look at Custer County as being underserved in spite of our high vet population. So I've been in active communication with those guys up there to maybe try to develop a partnership and bring some more funds down here to help vets in the county. Been doing that. Got contacted by some guys out at OT6 the other day. They donated 3 elk to the VSO office. So we're going to be giving away a bunch of elk to veterans in need. And yeah, besides for that,
Who was your contact?
it was is it Justin, the game warden, Justin Crawl, I think. Yeah, he came over and said that OT6 had 3 elk that some guys couldn't fly back with, and they wanted to donate it
That's very good.
to us. So we ended up splitting that with the community food bank. So they got an elk and a half, and then we got an elk and a half.
Good.
And so I kind of have a list of veterans that I'm going to deliver that to here probably this week, because it's being processed over at Elevation and just finished up.
Stage of processing.
Right now, I haven't quite figured that. I think the American Legion is going to step in and cover some of that. So I lean kind of heavily on that organization sometimes. And the other thing is I talked to Braden about getting reimbursed for cell phone cost. And he said that I needed your permission. So
Gonna do it on your own cell?
can I? Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing now. And I
Yeah,
didn't.
you get a, absolutely. You get a stipend.
Yeah. So I guess I need like parents' permission for that if you guys want.
Yeah,
You're,
So I can just go.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But there's
It's
no,
not in the personnel policies that count.
it's just,
Okay.
when a department needs it.
Okay. So I can just tell them, you guys give me the thumbs up
To
on.
make a decision about that, don't you?
Yeah, put it in there.
I'll put it in if required. There's options.
Yeah, I would move we authorize VSO officer to be reimbursed for cell phone at $75 a month.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to authorize the BSO to have the stipend of $75 be reimbursed for cell phone use.
Awesome.
All in favor, say aye. Ken?
Aye.
And aye.
So yeah, that's all I have. Not much.
Okay, your report.
Yep.
Is there any upside, downside of what you said you're doing for the state here? We
In
good?
terms of,
So you got 64 calls, 37 appointments, and 106 people served.
yep,
Running around what you think it should be.
yep, close enough. Sometimes I lose count.
How about flow line? Trusting you?
Yeah, it actually seems like it's been
Pretty good comments.
I think it's been even busier here in the past few weeks. And I'm still running into people that didn't even realize that the office was still open. So I think that word's still kind of filtering out through the community. And I've been down in Fremont a little bit. I even have some vets in El Paso.
Yeah, speak up a little bit so they can hear.
Oh, yes, been in Fremont County. I have a lot of vets in Canyon City, probably 5 or 6 that I work with down there. And then one that just contacted me from El Paso County. So
Really?
yeah, which is quite a long ways, and they have numerous VSOs down there. So I don't know if it's.
You fire them up on their VSO in that county?
I tried to, but if somebody,
Well, that's okay to talk to
you
them.
can use any
We're not getting
VSO.
paid by.
Yeah, you can use any VSO in any county, I guess. But sometimes I get calls of, hey, I can't get a hold of anybody down here, or the office is always closed, et cetera, et cetera. And that I'm not going to turn away.
No,
I'm not going
and
to turn
that's the
away.
fact that anybody can use any counties,
Yeah.
which is an odd thing, but it's a state statute.
Yep. Now our VTF funds are supposed to be for county only,
Right.
so we don't go
Right.
out of. But we do have vets like up the grade that live right on the county line, and it's easier
You
for
can't
them.
quibble on the boundary.
Exactly. So we'll service those people, but if we have people coming from Denver to use VTF funds in Custer County, we tend to snuff that out pretty quick.
Okay. Well, I move we accept his report as he's presented here for the Colorado Department of Military and Veterans Affairs.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to accept your report, the PSO's report, and all in favor, say aye, Tom.
All right.
Good. Aye. Kanda, aye.
Been pretty busy.
Go ahead. Got something?
Yeah.
See, you had spelling on the last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yes,
Okay.
have for years.
Yep. Trying to work with him and get him taken care of.
What is this, the 5th?
Yep. All day.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Moved right out of my mouth.
Get out of your hair. Thank you. Absolutely. Good to see you, sir.
Good job.
Take care. Good to see you. Thank you. Take care.
Okay. We got an extension report.
Top of the morning.
There she is.
Yeah, good. All right.
Good, good.
Good morning.
Switching it up on you. Here
Good to
you
see
go.
you. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay, Guinevere, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Keeping busy.
Yeah, I was just telling Kelly that. I
Alright,
don't know what's going on.
So what's the hot one today?
Well, it's a lot of state stuff, just reporting, and we're planning for a couple different camps for 4-H. So it's a lot of time trying to keep all the pieces moving forward. So in addition to the 4-H stuff, we're in our new 21-22 year. So we're going to be enrolling volunteers and members. And then also just trying to evaluate what worked this year and what didn't, and where can we look at. One of the programs we really want to focus on this year is the horse program. We feel like it can be very, very good, and we've got a good team. So just trying to figure out ways to build it as best as possible.
On the horse program.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Kelly. She knows. But yeah, we think that it's kind of, lots of horses in the community.
I brought that up, hoping to get some kind of a big head nod. Her back there, she's still committed.
I don't know. We haven't had a
Oh, you
conversation.
okay?
I'm putting her on
All
the
right.
spot right now.
So maybe we get a commitment publicly right now.
Yeah, then it can't go back. Kelly.
There's an awards banquet's gonna be at the Saddle Club.
Yeah. And Taco Bar, we're gonna send you guys an invitation. And we'd love to have you there since you guys are a huge supporter of 4-H and all of our programming. So please RSVP though, so we know how much to bring.
I will be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The 24th. I had to look, otherwise I would give you the wrong date.
1 to 3.
1 to 3. We just got our shooting sports, like our shotgun team competed at the state level. We just got results last night. Our team got 13th out of 37 counties across the state. One of our members got 13.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning.
That wouldn't happen to be one of yours, would it?
No, mine didn't finish at the top, but we did have some players that did, our shooters, other team members that did fantastic. So the team as a whole did fantastic.
Yeah, we're really excited. And then we got one of our members got 13 individual scores in the top 13 out of 118. We're really trying to get, if you get in the top 10, you go to the national shooting sports competition. So we're hoping next year.
Right on the cusp.
Yeah, our shooting sports coach is really great. The kids love him. And so we're hoping to increase the numbers of participants and just really excited. We did really great across the board in state fair and all those contests. So Custer County's a rockin'. It's exciting. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Thursday, Dave Schneider and Justin Kroll will be talking at our water lecture series at Lang Hall from 6 to 8 on water quality. And I did not change Terry's name in my report, so I apologize. I have talked to him and I do call him by the right name.
I'm done bringing that kind of stuff up. Then.
I heard you call Jared out too. I was like, oh no.
Let's get it right.
I agree. It's a public document.
If you ever call him Tony, will you tell us honestly?
I will.
You did? Okay.
I think I even joked around with him, just trying to not excited. Keep it real all the time.
All right.
Okay. So on the topic of community needs assessment, we're thankfully wrapping that up. That's been a year-long effort to kind of see what the community wants from us in terms of programming. One of the things that came out was local foods. So just trying to get some people together, farmers, ranchers, to talk about how can Extension help you guys. Is it access to resources, grant writing? That was one of the things that came up. So just trying to work with them to identify how to support local food production in Custer County better, because we have a lot of people doing a lot of great stuff up here, and we want to make sure that continues.
Yeah, that was what confused me a little bit when I saw it. It says local foods, the production.
Yes.
Side.
Yep. Mostly, yeah, it seems like,
Butchering.
yeah, it seems like production and distribution and processing seem to be where the most help is needed. But we'll see. I'll come back with more information at a later date and let you know what I find out. One of the things I'm supposed to get from you is the really high up bosses at CSU Extension would really like to come talk to you. It'll either be Blake Naughton or Lindsay Shirley, coming to ask for about an hour of your time to kind of talk about the findings of the needs assessment and kind of share with you.
So you're going to set that up, coordinate it?
Well, yeah, I would like to identify
Ask what
some
their
times.
schedules are and see when they would like to come see if it fits.
They've given me direction to ask you for a couple times.
Well, we can't do it next week and we can't do it we do it. Are they wanting to do it soon?
Before the end of December is
How
preferable.
about the afternoon of the 20th of October?
20.
Oh, well, yeah. We meet in Wetmore, but doesn't mean we can't meet up here or down there, actually.
That's the meet down there.
Be closer for them, actually.
Yeah. That would be a good time
How
to,
about suggesting that?
Yeah, what time?
If we made it 1:30-ish, we'd have time to run
to Florence.
for lunch.
1:30 is all right.
Okay, I'll throw that out there.
And then Wetmore Community Building. Then we just have to look at some others.
Okay, that's awesome.
We'll see what they say.
All right, I'll throw it out there. And then Montana was beautiful and amazing, and it was really nice to, I'm not trying to rub it
Oh,
in.
because it felt like it. It felt like it.
I'm
but
glad you were inspired.
I was inspired. It was great. There was from all the western states, so Colorado and then west all the way into Alaska and Hawaii. People were there going through the same program. So there's a lot of like trainings on organizational leadership, stuff like that. So it's been good so far. Outside of that, I was just working on the budget, and then I was planning on reissuing in regards to Cuerno Verde's fire mitigation project. I was just wondering how to move forward. They did, each of the landowners submitted $250 to demonstrate that buy-in. The county currently holds that money in the account, and I'm not sure what to do. If we want to refund it or if we want to hang on to it.
Yeah, I went over and visited with Virginia this morning. We couldn't track down that account from her end because she didn't know exactly what the name of that was.
Okay.
So she said finance will be a better chance of, she said, if you can tell me exactly what the deposit name was under, I said, well, I can't.
The individual deposits or the
Well,
amount we have?
yeah, we don't know that. We'd have to look and see.
I do have copies of all the checks that were
So they
written.
didn't, everybody gave an individual check,
Mhm,
okay?
mhm.
It's
So-
not, it just needs, the amount would be helpful, I guess. But they wrote it to Custer County, so that's a
Yeah.
general, but it could go any
Yeah, so it's
crazy and happen.
13 landowners times 250. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay.
So I could track that down, but I just know that if we want to return that, I'd like to know before, what is the 21st when we have to submit our accounts payable requests. to
Around
Braden.
3250, actually, you know,
Yeah,
15 times 250.
dang.
I don't know.
Look at
Close
you,
enough.
math whiz.
He just took 10 and then 3.
I'm better with words.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need to go back to Matt and ask Matt to contact those people and find out what they want to do. They're, I think, still hoping that we're going to fund that mitigation, wildfire mitigation plan out there in Corte Verde. I won't support it in its current form. I know that, but that's just me.
I think we all are in that boat. That's why we voted to.
Yeah, so
We
I
need to get a recommendation.
I guess we can decide to do whatever. If we want to refund them the money, we refund them their money. And then we start over at some point. That would be the cleanest rather than leaving it on a deposit. Really.
would agree.
I do too, and so let's by.
Yeah, I would move that we refund the Cuerno Verde, 13 Cuerno Verde landowners their matching portion of $250 per property.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to refund the current Verde fire mitigation deposit.
And I would guess, well, I'm just gonna say, I think Braden would, you can probably submit a reimbursement or a invoice request, but I'm not sure how that would go.
Just
on
work
this.
with him on how he
Yeah.
wants it submitted.
Yeah, we definitely, I got all the information to
Okay.
him, so we're on target. I just wanted to
And
make
then we'll
sure.
start over and we'll
Yeah.
spec out what we expect this to be
Yeah.
as far as how we're gonna grant the money.
Yeah, I
All
think
in-
that cleans up those expectations, as you mentioned, because they may be under the expectation, as long as we got their money, we got to do something. But we also don't want the expectation, we give them their money back, now we're not gonna do anything. That's not the case.
Let
It just-
them reapply.
clean it up.
We need to get a plan to them on how we're gonna, our expectations of a landowner applying. So all in favor, say aye, Tom.
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Well, that limits your time.
It's awesome. Like, got other stuff to do. So that's helpful and, so thank you for that guidance.
Quick, well, yeah, I'll ask you because we won't get it from anybody else. Quick update on the status of the building that the county bought for use at the fairgrounds.
I was under the understanding they were gonna move it last night
Oh.
and I did not, I drive by it every morning and didn't even look.
Okay.
Who's
But,
did they?
the fair board, and they had hired someone to come move it in the middle of the night so traffic wouldn't be an issue. So, that's as far as I understood.
I haven't
And
heard anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was the plan as far
The
as.
president of the fair board reached out to me and I said, well, yeah, I do know a couple things.
Mhm.
That depending on where you're going to put that would dictate how you have to proceed. And they had said the fair board had voted to put it on county property.
That's as best I knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look and follow up with Diane.
So is that good news or bad news?
I think it's good. The goal is to have that be for indoor projects. Just the current building is small, kind of needs some attention, and so it allows for us to better display indoor projects and potentially do things
Yeah,
out of
spot
that
take
building. I think so. I kind of,
But they're moving it.
yeah, I kind of just let the fair
It
board,
may have already been put down. And
yeah.
yeah,
they-
yeah, I think it's great to get that at least moved and going. I mean, we've been on this project for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And had some setbacks along the way, including the building was full of some miscellaneous stuff. Apparently they did finally get that out of there if they moved it.
Yeah,
We'll see. Well, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it on my report. If you guys have any
Kevin,
questions.
you got any questions?
No, just have to stop by and get pictures, see pictures of Glacier, I guess.
Oh, yes, I have a few in front of Lake McDonald. It's pretty awesome. I won't rub it in any further.
Don't encourage.
All right, well, thanks.
Always encourage me.
Yeah.
See, you know,
See you.
Whoops.
The highlight of the.
Smiley showed up in person. Hello.
Hi.
I would
Good
like to
morning,
recommend I don't have to come.
Yeah, I think we've heard that before.
But yet here you are.
Here
I am.
That's my right. Okay, BBA member and president. Nah, I'm just teasing. That's the
Okay,
first letter.
Mr. Commissioners, here's an updated. It's not in your packet.
Okay, we have one in our packet, but this is the update. to that.
Oh, here you go.
I think it's 2 pages.
Is it 2 pages?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Distracting.
Yes, 2 pages.
So this is an update of what we got. What we've got is
You got October's. No,
August,
August. So this
January
is,
through September summary.
uh-huh.
Cool.
September and up year to date. Okay.
Okay, so who am I?
The person that's been on vacation a week or?
It's nice to have you back.
I'm paying the price.
Where you starting?
It's easier to stay here and work than go on
Are you gonna do
vacation.
this summer first, or what are you doing?
Gosh.
What are you gonna talk about?
Do you want me to do
It's
that?
up to you.
So what I handed out was September's. In your packet was August. So in September, I had 14 septic inspections, which was probably low because I don't know if you guys realized it, but there was
14 or 17?
Got
14.
14 on our new one.
On my new one, I did
One
14.
sheet.
14 inspections.
Oh,
And so we had a supply shortage. And so none of the suppliers for septic infiltrators or tanks had any. And so they were suffering. So last
get
week,
caught
the supplies came in. And so of course, this week I have over 12 septics. Because everybody was waiting for those supplies.
And it's opened up.
And it's opened up.
Months worth of inspections.
Yes. So we had one special conference, and what those are is when people have issues or discussions. We had 12 compliance inspections. Those are dwellings that are finished, and you got to go out there and give them a compliance report. And then we did 3 septic contractor tests. So septics were tied with last year at this time. Dwellings were 3 ahead. Non-dwellings are sheds, garages. They were 32 last year at this time and 24 this year. So the total for last year's septics was 112 at this time, and now we're at 130. Dwellings, we had 89 at this time last year, and we're at 106. Okay. And the revenue.
Before we move on, I have a question for you about this particular page. So the top portion of that page, those aren't like special conferences or whatever. Those aren't just tied to septic, or that could be anything in your
anything.
office. Okay.
Zoning, whatever.
Site reviews are tied to those septic inspections, or no?
No. Site review is mainly if it's a septic in a site. That all has to do with septics.
Okay.
If I have to go out there and look at a septic before they install it.
My point was, I was trying to get at these numbers don't include your short-term rental activities.
No, they do not.
Okay.
Which they could.
I don't have that long to live. The top portion is actually taken off the whiteboard in front of when you go in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so far we've collected 229,264.20. And septic permits, 28,650. Use tax, 938.13. And other income is the STRs, any variance goes under other income. And that's 23,669.83 this year compared to 9,367 last year. So the total of all the income was $282,522.20. The septic surcharge, every time we permit a septic, we owe the state $25, and that's on my budget. And this year we paid the state $2,460.
So back to Tom's question, this sheet shows the special use permits for
the income.
Yeah, for
everything,
including the bed and breakfast.
The short-term rentals are on there. They're under other income.
Okay.
If we needed to break that out, short-term rentals versus everything else, we could do that.
Yes, at the end of the year, you'll have a report showing all the short-term rentals that were issued and what zones they're in.
Good.
And the amount of money.
Yes.
New.
Yes.
And existing both.
Yes, they're all lumped together. I think it'd be interesting, not for the amount of money, but probably for the zones they're in. I think that needs to be taken a look at, is the zones, because at one time we spoke about limiting them. And I'm getting all the feedback from the counties saying, we should have limited them. So now we're going to have to look at that, but I don't see anything. They're pretty well scattered. so far.
Good.
Okay, so then my first thing on my agenda is BZA member and president Gene Canterbury resigned. And I think that there was a certificate that you signed.
Not yet.
Didn't see it.
I wonder where that went. Okay, so I will be handing out a certificate.
Well, it says there, it will be available for signature.
Oh, here it is.
I wonder where that went.
Can I have a new, my pen ran out.
So this is what we usually give to all our board members that resign, and it's just a little certificate.
It's like a
And
septic system license to me.
yes, just sign it, please. Okay. So at the last meeting, we had 3 seated, think it was like, oh, it's in my packet. 3 seated members and 2 associate members, and I have had only 1 meeting this year. I will not ask for any new members until the beginning of the year, if you agree. Because that's when we usually do the call out for new members. So if you're in agreement, I have 3 seated members now, and I have 2 alternates. But with the BZA, I only need 3.
And do you have a vice chairman of that BZA or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Then I'd say we're good to wait.
I don't see a
Good.
problem.
If along many years ago, we had a lot of BZA meetings because the BZA allows you to break our zoning resolution. And we started cleaning up the zoning resolution because we were seeing a pattern of these people asking for the same thing all the time. So it's very rarely that we'll get that in now. So that helped a lot. This last one was over a setback variance, and the gentleman, to meet his setback, he asked for a 20-foot setback, and to meet his setback, he would actually have to move a mountain. So it was topography, so no brainer. Short-term rentals, you sign those in mid-month. I'll have another set round from yesterday's short-term.
We heard there was a little problem with that.
Yes, and do you want to discuss it now? Because I think it's appropriate.
Sure.
Okay, so I know it's
Form
hard.
at fault, or is it the people can't read
I know it's
or can't write?
probably really out of your realm of thought, but I got a little testy
We did.
yesterday.
I can't believe that.
So what had happened,
I was blessed to have witnessed.
Not be at the end of it.
Yeah, I wasn't at the brunt of it, thank God.
so what had happened is after the end of the short-term rental meeting, board members said that he doesn't like the handwritten applications. And he would like everything done electronically. So then I said, no, you cannot do that. That's not in our zoning resolution. And you can't keep changing the rules to fit the needs. Okay, so we had a copier problem, and the copier lady is supposed to have been up to fix it. She thought she had it fixed. It's not fixed. So a lot of people, when we make copies for the board, they're coming out light. So I took and went over everything that was light and redid it. So then they would, one of the board members said he'd like to see it electronically. So I informed him that that's not the way life goes. And then we had a problem with the agent. We didn't say in the short-term rentals that you had to have an agent in Custer County. We just wanted you to list an agent.
If you had one.
If you had one. So we've been going along, and a lot of them have, not a lot of them, some of them have not had an agent on the application. No big deal, but yesterday it seemed to be a big deal. So they wasn't going to take the they approved the application on the condition that they got an agent. So one of the gentlemen that applied for a short-term rental pointed out what the regs said, and it does not say that you have to have an agent.
You don't have to have an agent.
But Mr.
Be,
Flower will be reading that section because it's very small.
910(3)(b)(4) says each owner of an STR property shall designate a responsible agent. The owner may designate him or herself as the responsible agent. The name and the telephone number of the designated responsible agent shall be conspicuously posted within an STR dwelling. Responsible agent must be available at all times to answer calls for the duration of each short-term rental period to address the problems associated with the STR. I know you gentlemen already know this because you voted to put this in here. So it does say must designate.
Okay, must designate, but you can designate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Just say self.
so some of the applicants weren't putting self on that line
Or anyone else.
or anyone else. They just left it blank. So then that's the problem. So from now on, we'll do self
Too hard for you to assume,
The agent.
or the agent.
or the agent.
But when you fill out an application to obtain a dwelling or an accessory permit, if you're building it yourself, we don't, when it comes to builder, if
Right.
you leave it blank,
We assume it's them.
we assume it's them. So I thought that was ticky tack.
I
Well,
think it's nitpicking.
yeah, I don't. I think it's legitimate.
Of course,
If the resolution says you must designate, which it does, and there is a section in the application for that, if it's blank, what did they not do? They didn't designate.
who else agrees with him?
I have to say I do.
Turn around.
The illustrious.
Do you remember that part in my
Yes, I do.
report
Where
that I
you
gave you?
appreciated the attorney now. that-
Not off the
You
board,
were just getting to that part.
Take that back.
off the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah,
Okay, so
The real term should have been and designating an agent or yourself. If not, you don't have.
So we're gonna have that cleaned up and we'll put self on it. Okay,
Yourself.
so,
I'm glad to see you saw the light before the attorney did.
Would there be a possibility of maybe for that section
getting rid
right
of it.
there in the fine print or something with the little asterisk that says required?
Well, you would think so, but when we take the application, I'll just tell whoever's taking it to make sure they put self.
it may not be themselves, though, Jackie,
No,
right?
that's
It
right. Or
doesn't have to
an
be
agent.
themselves,
That's right.
correct?
You're kidding.
Well,
Yes, I know that.
okay.
But if it's self, like
If it is self, yes,
yesterday,
exactly,
I had two selves.
right.
And we did not say that if you live in California, you had to have an agent in Custer County, because we did recommend that and that was denied.
Correct. Yeah. No, you can get testy all you want at planning and zoning. Come in here and try to get testy.
So far, she's not.
It's not, oh,
Bill seen me testy. This is nothing.
yeah.
Okay, what else do you have?
I just think they were really mean yesterday.
I recall the time when she leaned across that table and breathed fire into the face of the chairman before your time, but she put it in his place. So
Yeah.
she can get tested.
Hey, Jackie, I sympathize with you.
You did not, you didn't stick up for me.
Oh, I thought I did.
You just sat there going,
Well, they started to turn on me, as you remember.
yeah, they
So
were, I
we don't
stood up
need
for
into
you.
that.
But
He's just a casual observer. He knows.
I did throw the attorney's name out a couple
You
times.
did, and I mentioned that this morning in my report.
You did?
Oh,
Yeah, we've
absolutely.
already discussed this, so that's why.
Okay, let's move
Like
on.
Kevin's
I just,
taking a snooze.
I
I'm moving on.
Hey,
Let's
thank
go.
you for your report reflecting my report.
just think that they were cruel and unusually mean to me yesterday. Okay, and close the list of the approved short-term
In
rentals.
very small print, by the way.
I had to get them all on one piece of paper.
Look at the average age up here.
Turn on landscape next time.
We did, but it still wasn't working. And then see, it just messes up my whole
Not
flow.
that we care.
Not that I care.
Okay, so you had quite a few.
Okay, so I don't know if Kevin brought it up in his, but that
No,
was
we've already talked about it. Let's move
the
on.
fan.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Been dealt with.
Yes.
We almost went down a bad path there.
Thank you for backing me up on the fan. I did bring that up, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't think you'd remember.
Oh,
He
yeah,
did.
he did.
Thank
And
you.
it's already been handled and it's going to be fixed.
Okay,
We're gonna flush it down.
That's the end of that.
okay, and then I put kudos to the county attorney.
Do you mean that?
I'm sorry to see this actually, because he's been sitting pretty smug back there.
I'm waving on that one now.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to look at your letters. A lot of these letters have been taken care of, but we have a propane one that is being dealt with again Friday. Oil and gas companies coming up here. You have to have, it's my understanding, I haven't attended the meeting. The meeting was today and we canceled it until Friday. That if you have, the law states that you can only have 1,000-gallon propane tank on your property.
Which law? Just
Oil and
out of
gas, Jackie's law, oil and gas,
curiosity. I mean, it's a state.
it's a
statute.
state.
That's what I'm asking.
So we have a 6,500 gallons sitting in a residential area. Also have a
In
propane,
business. Somebody's in business of doing that.
we have a propane tanker coming up the mountain that I got a report on that has no placards or no state certificates.
Just out of curiosity, how would you handle a 6,500 gallon tank? You gonna cause him to get a special use permit for business or tell him?
The 6,500 gallon tank, my understanding, of course, I haven't heard this out of the state's mouth yet, is that it will have to be removed. But I don't know that for a fact until after Friday. After Friday, we'll know more.
Unless he wants to become a business or something silly.
And none of these letters pertain to that.
Yes,
Right.
Oh, they do?
yes. Oh, none of them, but there is a letter in your packet.
Two that said something that includes.
Cease and desist, but not.
I have a cease and desist. And that's where the problem is now coming from because the cease and desist, of course, was enacted. The business stopped on the property. But we still have a tanker that is supposedly unloading propane to a delivery truck with no certificates and stuff. And they don't have a tax certificate or anything. So the county is actually losing money. They are delivering propane to people.
After
The
your
other
cease and
after.
desist or no?
I don't know. I'm not taking any of my calls seriously,
You've been
but they
on
are.
vacation.
They are. People are still getting propane. And so I had a caller say that they didn't want, of course, their name brought out, but they said they have a list of people that he's been delivering propane to. And you could do that if you have the right state certificates, but also you have to pay taxes. So the county has been losing taxes and
And you
stuff.
have to have a special use permit, correct?
If you're operating in the county of business.
Well,
That's
you're
why I
collecting
was
tax, if you were collecting taxes and selling propane, that's a business.
So it's gotten,
So it seems like that's the way to solve it.
so it's gotten out of hand.
And you have met with this individual about a special use permit, correct?
And the individual said that he would move it to town. But we still have issues out at the property, I guess. Okay, and then the rest of them are just letters that Mr.
Gotcha, man.
Yeah, attorney solved.
Look good.
And then, as you noticed, our attorney did a judgment against a gentleman, and we got the money for that.
Well, that's a question for the attorney, if I may.
Clint, you ready?
I'm prepared.
So some of your communications, let me make sure, yeah, are on planning and zoning letterhead. I noticed one in here is not on any letterhead other than Clint Smith, attorney at law.
Well, that's letterhead.
Well, yeah, I guess that is letterhead, isn't it?
I've never, nobody.
Notice
ever-
a judgment.
If you want to provide me with county attorney's special letterhead, otherwise for planning and zoning, I generally let them use theirs and sign off on that. Sometimes I've used BOCC letterhead if it's whenever I can get some from our admin assistant.
Usually though, may I speak?
Yeah.
Usually,
There's German.
may I speak? Usually,
Trying to accommodate you here.
when you see this letterhead from Clint, this means they've ignored all the others.
So this puts more teeth in it
Yes,
as opposed to from the zoning or
Yes.
from, well, still could say Clint Smith.
it does on the bottom, but
Underneath
it's
the
just
Custer
almost
County
like they,
letterhead.
this gets better attention. If I had his stamp,
No, we're not giving you a stamp, I'm sorry. I won't
not
say that.
After 1 for 7 years.
Actually, no, that's a good point, though. If you look at it, your
That's a good
letterhead
point.
says planning and zoning office. So what authority is that? Comes from a county attorney. Maybe it's different. But maybe
It does.
ought to be the county letterhead.
and this one needed teeth.
It's not
That's
this
what I was
letterhead, but it would be the county
County
letterhead.
letterhead.
On it.
Without BOCC on it. and
Yeah,
the
we
county attorney's letterhead. but-
Yeah. You need the IT guys to make a special letterhead that does that. That's not a big expense to print up some.
I count,
I have my own letterhead that I made up that
With Custer County on.
Custer, and it just has my name and address, Custer County Courthouse.
Right.
And then I sign it as the Custer County Attorney. So that's how I do it.
I had a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I know there are people around the county that do operate, they're drivers for particular propane firms. And they bring those vehicles home and park them at their house. Is that a violation then with that being
No.
anything like that? So it's a permanent tank is what you're referring to.
uh-huh.
Okay.
You can bring your transport truck to your home.
What about a semi tractor?
Yeah, that's, I call that a transport.
Shoot, Sheriff Joe used to park his semi in the lot.
So you have the huge transport truck, you have the delivery truck, and then usually you have the filler tank in your yard where you can fill bottles and stuff. So the transport truck was coming up the mountain, up the grade, and it was clocked doing 70.
Up the grade.
I doubt up the grade, but you know what I mean.
Probably across Hosey.
Hosey Flats.
Uh-huh. And no one could get any tags off of it or placards, the correct placard. So this is what started this again.
But Jackie, you just said it'd be okay for somebody to have a 6,000 gallon.
That's what's
tanker
weird.
truck sitting in their yard.
That's what's weird about the state regs. You can have a transport truck sitting in your yard, but you cannot have
Permanent.
over 1,000 gallon propane tank sitting in your yard feeding your home.
Got it,
1,000 gallons the limit.
got it.
You run a siphon hose over to the other tank.
That's what we do.
All right, we gotta move on.
It's confusing. Okay, so the conclusion is bye.
Well, we'll shake your hand.
And I don't have to come to next month's meeting.
That's not in the
We
game.
respectfully request your presence.
Thanks for the report.
I'll be on mid-month with my short-term.
Thanks, Jack.
Handshake right to yourself.
Okay, we're gonna move on, but we're gonna take a 5-minute quick break for everybody. It's 5 to 11 now on our clock, so we'll shut down, take a recess and come back.
I'm gonna have to rewind it to see what Flip said about my meeting.
Well, who says? You don't need no.
Okay, we're back in business. It's 4 minutes after 11 on our clocks, and our clock, to be technically correct. I don't want to get corrected again. So welcome back, everybody, and we will continue with the meeting. It's unfinished business time. Anything from you, Tom?
No, sir.
Kevin? No, sir. None here. Okay, new business, public comments allowed after each item to be voted for, before it's voted on. And we have taken the first item off our agenda at the beginning of this meeting, and that was the Kids Council Resolution number 2119, and we're going to do that mid-month. So the one that's up now is the Reach Air Ambulance consideration of contract, and that would be presented by Matt Nolting and Brian Fusco. So if you'd like to tell us what it's all about, and then, yeah, come on up. You can sit there, you can speak wherever you can.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for
Thank you
waiting.
for being here. Yes, thank you.
I'll do that.
Guys here.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate your patience. Sorry.
If you want to pull that chair out of the way and y'all three can sit up here.
Yeah, bring up the chair.
Step back and make yourself comfortable. Speak up so that speak up so that everybody can hear you and on the
Matt's coming back. You need to be up here, brother.
right in the middle there.
Your name's on the agenda. You have to be front and center.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in the hot seat.
Yeah.
That's the speaking seat. No,
Nice and warm here.
who's going to present?
I'm going to start.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen, thank you for allowing us to come and talk. We were approached about 3 months ago, about what it was, yeah, about 4 months ago, somewhere in that ballpark. The hospital district was approached by Reach to consider addition of Reach Air Ambulance services to our current EMS services that we provide in the county. I'm going to start off by saying I know this has been approached before. I know that there was some emotion and some history that was involved in this during previous discussions. Chief Nolting and myself, those that don't know me, I'm the executive director of the hospital district. I took over in May. Chief Nolting and I have been in discussions about some things we're going to get to a little bit later. But this particular piece that we're presenting first, we feel is kind of a first step in what we see as a bigger vision.
Can I guess a quick thing for the record? Sure. When you say the emergency services we provide for the county, what is that?
The ambulance, we, the hospital district, provide ambulance service to the county under the permission and licensure of the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
And so what we are coming to you with is this first step. We believe that Reach has brought us a fairly reasonable proposal. I'll let the representatives from Reach describe it to you. I believe I emailed it out or had it emailed out to you guys for review previous to this meeting. Let me just get to the bottom line of what we're proposing and why we're coming to the commissioners at this point. What we're hoping to do is to institute this contract with Reach sometime around January 1. One of the reasons we're coming to the commissioners is to hopefully spread the cost of this contract out among the varying agencies that would be using this service, EMS, fire. And we have our reasons for coming to the county commissioners, but we're hoping that the county commissioners will consider going in thirds with us on this contract. Part of that is we have uncovered areas or difficult to cover areas of our county that currently aren't, for lack of a better term, paying for their services.
So they're going to these remote areas, but there's no reimbursement.
Correct. Other than through billings that we collect.
Right, you get it, whatever you can get, whatever insurance companies or whatever.
Sure. As you know, there's a mill levy established to support EMS, fire, and the hospital districts.
With that, unless there's questions, I'd like to turn it over to Reach to propose for them to discuss the contract that they're presenting. This has already been discussed with the hospital district board. We got approval from them to first move forward to discuss with the hospital or with the fire district board. Matt and I went to the fire district board meeting and they also approved us moving this forward more as a opening of a dialogue and asking of permission to look into this, not necessarily to come to any conclusions at this particular moment.
You got any questions?
So the three entities would be the hospital district, fire district, and the county.
Correct.
Okay.
Kevin, you got any questions before I go?
Just maybe just a clarification on one of your statements.
Sure.
Wetmore would be included in your non-paying subscribers at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, very political, or a correct way of stating that, I guess. So,
Yes.
as well as some people on
165 corridor.
All the county,
I'm sorry.
all of the county.
Yes. Yeah. So the proposal that Reach has brought would cover all of the county.
Okay. Reach.
Yeah, so as you guys know, Reach has been around in Salida since 2015. We've grown our fleet to go to Colorado Springs as well. Part of the Air Medcare network. 3 other bases that I oversee is 2 fixed wings out of Del Norte and Alamosa, as well as another rotor down out of Alamosa as well. So we provide critical care transport to central and southern Colorado. All those aircraft would be covered underneath the Air Medcare network membership. We are visual flight rules for our rotors. Our fixed wings, we have 2 Beechcraft King Air 90s. They are IFR capable as well. So in the event that weather might be an issue, fixed wings have a little bit more capabilities with visibility and whatnot. What we really wanted to do is just kind of go over
Before you do that, just another quick question. How do you split time between other air ambulances? How do you decide who covers Custer County?
so it's whichever is closest, most appropriate and available. So for Custer County specifically, for like Westcliff on over, that would be first call would be Salida. If Salida is not available, then there is Alamosa or Colorado Springs.
So in Wetmore's case, whoever would be flying in there first isn't there, then you'd fly from Salida to.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And
But that's
and we plan on growing as well in the state as well too. So very soon.
Do you still have a site in La Junta or no?
We do.
Okay.
But La Junta is it's over an hour flight. So they
fixed or rotor or both?
Just fixed. Or I'm sorry, just rotor.
Okay.
Yep. And so I'll just kind of hand it over to Cara to kind of talk about the details of this.
So I'm Cara, I'm the membership manager for Air Medcare Network, which is the membership with Reach and all of our affiliated aircraft. This proposes what we call a municipal site plan, where our membership to cover everybody in the county, every resident within the county for their air ambulance flights. It keeps them from paying anything out of pocket for their flight, basically, anybody who lives in the county. So the way it would work is if anybody is flown within Custer County, or also Heart of the Rockies Regional Medical Center there in Salida, because there is people that may end up there and have to be transported. It would cover their flight with no out-of-pocket expense with the Custer County membership plan. So on this form, if you look, it'll tell you transport must be made from a pickup location in Custer County or from Heart of the Rockies Regional Medical Center. The one caveat we have is if they are no insurance, let's say they have no insurance at all, we can bill them for the Medicaid allowed rate, okay, or the Medicare, allowable rate. Just below that, there is an upgrade benefit. So let's say they have coverage through this MSP that the county covers. They decide they want to upgrade their benefit. They can pay an annual fee, $45 for a standard household or $35 for a senior household. What that does then is it will give them additional coverage outside of the county or anywhere else. So they will have the option to be able to do that. We are nationwide. So it would cover them outside of the county with not only Reach, but also our other affiliated aircrafts, whichever area they were in.
Other states or just other parts of Colorado?
No, we are actually throughout the United States, Alaska and Hawaii. So certainly somebody can choose to upgrade and have their membership go with them throughout the United States instead of just here in Custer County.
We have over 380, 390 bases across the country.
But they're picked up by another service that doesn't.
Correct.
I mean, it's a hit or miss.
Correct.
Wherever you are, whether you reach or grab them or not.
Correct. It is only with our providers in our service. We are the largest throughout the US, so it's definitely a beneficial membership. So the price, certainly to cover everybody in Custer County, you're looking at $29,302 a year. That price would cover, like I said, all residents within Custer County. On the second page, we do have some general terms and conditions. A lot of them apply for mostly the upgrade. If somebody chooses to upgrade their membership, then they usually ask for a 15-day before they start. The reason being is some people pay with check, and we just like to protect ourselves as giving us enough time to get that payment, but we will fly somebody in the event that an unforeseen accident has happened. We just don't like people calling up in the ER for membership. So otherwise, certainly if, let's say we have one of our providers down, as Jason mentioned, we do have other providers as backup that can be utilized if one of our other aircraft is down. If somebody has insurance, we will bill their insurance, but I don't know. You guys are familiar, about 81% of households nowadays have a real high deductible plan for their insurance. So their insurance may cover part of the flight, but they're still left with a huge out-of-pocket expense because they have a high deductible. This is actually an option to, it kind of counteracts that deductible and co-payment for them. So let's say Johnny is flown, they have a $5,000 deductible, but you guys have the MSP in place. That membership is going to satisfy his deductible for him. So he's not paying that $5,000 out of pocket, which then in return continues to keep more money in your own backyard. You know, economically, if people aren't spending their money on medical bills, they're more apt to spend it in the county that's offering this service and looking out for them.
Just after Medicare does their thing.
Correct.
So it could be whatever.
Right. And the other thing too to think about is membership protects your residents, not their insurance. So let's say their insurance were to deny a flight, which we do see a lot of times 55% of flights are denied on the first go around. And so this protects them and not their insurance from having to pay anything if their insurance happens to deny it as well.
Couple questions, if I may, sir.
Sure.
So this MSP is written and geared towards individuals, not households.
So it is geared mostly towards individuals.
To get to the household level means this additional annual rate.
Right. So this annual rate will then cover everybody within their household outside of Custer County if they choose.
But in Custer County.
In Custer County as well.
Household is covered.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in Custer County, this is geared towards a household. If I want my kids to be covered in Penrose, then I'd have to pay the additional.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
anybody who resides
Okay,
as a permanent resident here in Custer County.
so it is household on the surface, outside of the county, additional. Okay, thank you. I misunderstood that. How many people How many residents of Custer County currently have a membership with you?
Sure, that's a good question. So we're roughly around 12%.
Okay. And then
12% of what?
The population here in Custer County.
5,000 or less?
I think it's based off of around a 53 something, 5,300 population.
the Census Bureau believes we have 4,750 people living in our county. Which leads me to one of my questions is how did you reach this amount of 29,000?
Sure. So it's all done based on like census data, Medicare, Medicaid data, flight data, reimbursement status. There's a whole kind of calculation that goes into it.
And then one more, Mr. Chair, if I may. You guys know we've had a discussion about this historically.
Correct.
A couple of years ago. We believe then, as I do now, that probably half of our flight requests involve people who do not live here. This doesn't address that.
No, only if they're residents within Custer County.
So if we get 8 car accidents on the Hardscrabble Canyon, 7 of those are from Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma and Florida, they're not covered under this.
Correct.
No, I think with by their driver's license and what they tell you.
Yeah, so too, because we are the provider and it is our membership, it'll all come through the same billing. So we will definitely be able to pick up somebody who is a resident and somebody who is not.
Right.
Yeah, pick up meaning.
Where they're at.
Flag that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Not that you want to pick them up and take them.
Right. But we would flag if they're.
You're not on our plan, see, and you fly off anyway.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
No, people get flown whether they have membership or not. Membership is just certainly an option that we give our consumers to be able to protect themselves financially in case they are flown.
Kevin,
I got a couple, 3 as well. So if the county becomes a member as a whole, I'll use Wetmore because that's where I'm from. Something happens there, transported to Canyon City. I don't pick up a personal membership and I really should have been flown to Springs or Denver. And now they decide to fly me out of Canyon City. I'm not covered.
Right, that unless you upgrade up to the upgrade. So, so what's covered in this price was, with Heart of the Rockies, operating out of the clinic here, offering a lot of specialty services in Salida. A lot of times, folks will more likely go to the doctor right there in Salida for the specialty services. They do happen to go and get admitted to that hospital there. Whether they have a heart attack or a stroke or just not feeling right. And then they're deemed to need to fly from that point. We're right there. We can fly them. And that's why you guys would be covered under Salida.
let me before you ask the next one on that same point then. So what you're saying is, so it's clear, if you got flown somewhere initially, it's good for a 2-hop. So you can go to the next place if it's to the other hospital in Denver, where you should have been first. Is that true? You're covered for both those flights?
Well, if we fly you, you'll be covered.
No,
But normally
fly out of Wetmore.
Yeah.
The park into Salida, and like he said, I should have been in Denver. Are you covered for those 2 hops?
You would be, but that would probably be very rare. Yeah, because those are both critical care access hospitals, not really considered definitive care.
Okay.
So that's where we want to get you is to the front range, whether to level 2 or level 1.
And just to make a point, when I talked to Jason yesterday, they have to follow the EMTALA laws, which means that they can't bypass a hospital unless that hospital cannot provide the level of care that is needed by that patient. Just like it is with the EMS service.
So you don't have the option of going to 2 different ones if they're relatively the same distance?
For example, let's just say we did fly you to Canyon City, at that point, from Canyon City to the front range, you would not be covered. But if you're flown to Heart of the Rockies, again, I can't think of a real reason why that would happen. If you did fly out of Heart of the Rockies, then that would be covered.
I know there has been a time or two when flights been in around Wetmore and there was a question as to which direction they were taking off and leaving from until about the time they went in the air when they finally decided where they were going. So that's why that question came up. And I suppose that probably came down to level of care.
Right.
And so that would fit the criteria.
Yeah.
So then this 45 annual rate, is that per person in the household or is that
No,
for the?
That
for
is
the house?
per household. So regardless of whether there's 1 or 50 people in your home, it doesn't matter how you're related.
Then Jackie gets involved.
As long as you all share the same household resident address, then everybody is covered for this one price, not per person.
Okay. Another question then. If someone has your membership,
Mhm.
say, I guess here, everybody in Custer County would have your membership if we decided to do this. How is the determination made as far as, because we have flight as well? So I run over an elk in the hard scrabble or somewhere across Toza Flats. Who makes a determination as to who gets called on that? Is it just availability? Is flight first, you guys second, or you guys first, and flight second?
So a lot of times that decision's made by the first responder on scene. I'm sure, you can tell them, hey, I'm an Air Medcare network member, please call REACH or UC Lifeline. That we're all part of the same network, and then it could be dispatched that way.
And with an MSP in place, I'm sure every first responders will be aware of that situation and know, if you guys have this in place, they'll know who to call.
Okay. Just a question, because say everybody in Custer County is a member now because of this, and flight comes in and they're thinking they're covered, and then all of a sudden they get that $5,000 bill from life. So.
Certainly that is a possibility if it's not our provider, that somebody would get a bill. The nice thing is we're basically here to offer an option where they won't get one in order for that not to happen. But yes, if it's not our provider, it's not covered under membership.
And right now, everybody pays regardless, unless they have the membership here. So that's where we're kind of at.
Whatever Medicare won't pick up or their own.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is not an insurance, this is a membership. That's why it doesn't cover if you fly out on Flight for Life, because they're not part of the Air Medcare network. That's why.
You say you're affiliated with UC Health?
So we vend our helicopter service to UC Health. And so that's where that relationship is at as well, out of Colorado Springs.
You don't go into Denver?
Well, we do go into Denver, but our aircraft is located in Colorado Springs.
And Flight for Life's a not-for-profit company, correct?
Right.
I don't want to throw out nonprofit because I don't know if that's the case, but who's your most significant competitor?
Here in the state, it's Air Methods, which is who vends the program for Flight for Life. But yeah, Flight for Life is a competitor. Air Life Denver is a competitor. St. Mary's is a competitor.
No,
go ahead.
I got a quick one. Matt, you support this. What did you do when you partnered? What does that mean? Does it mean all the firefighters got in it, or the county? What is it?
So right now we're just looking at as somebody who's compassionate about trying to help everybody in the county. If there was a way to help them with the fees of being flown, I'm all for it. As an emergency responder, and this has been said at all the meetings that I go to, if REACH is not available, or if we gotta wait an extra hour or so, I'm gonna go with flight, because that's what the patient needs at that point in time, and then they could deal with it later.
So from a fire district point of view, you're not ponying up any membership fees
We will budget it. I'm going to take it to the board to budget it and see if they,
for the firefighter family.
no, for the county.
So they're gonna throw it as a partner with the county.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I think it's well worth it that if we could, if the fire department could help pony some money and save several $1,000s for people.
I think we find with a lot of these MSPs, it's different, community resources kind of pull together to make it happen. As far as funding it.
And one of the, from just an economical standpoint as well for the county, for somebody to not have to pay for an expensive flight on top of whatever outrageous hospital bills are going to have, when they get to definitive care, this is money that stays within the county. It's not leaving the county to go pay an expensive flight bill, so that's money that they can go spend at the grocery stores, spend at the local restaurants. So that's, it just increases that propensity to spend their money here and not, to expensive air medical transport company. So there's also just that
full-time residents.
Is that how that goes, Cara?
It's anybody who basically owns or has residency, full-time residency within the county or like owns.
So
if somebody,
not part-time.
So part-time
people that come
residents.
up in the summertime.
yeah, snowbirds, everybody who has a property here, we consider a resident.
Okay, you did.
Because 50% of our.
Right. And that we see that with a lot of our areas. I mean, where people come in just in the summertime and that sort of thing. So they are covered. Now, the cool thing is too, is those people, if they, I don't know about you, but I know over through Salida and Buena Vista, we have a lot of people from Texas in the summer. We're all over Texas. They buy their upgrade and they know they're covered anywhere in between too.
Okay, so when you say residents, what was confusing, it's not full-time residentially, it's part-time property owners. It could be a pasture, not a house.
Correct.
Okay.
So for Kevin's benefit and maybe for yours, we had gotten to the point of negotiating with Reach on some topics. May or may not know this. We were concerned about non-residents being covered. So there was some discussion about negotiating to cover any person in Custer County at the time of their need. Is that something that could be on the table for discussion, or is this pretty well?
I can certainly, I can go back to corporate and certainly talk to them about any kind of negotiations.
And I hope you understand why I bring that up. I'm not in the business of providing air ambulance for everybody in the country, but if somebody has a crash down in the hardscrabble, which statistics say that's where it's most likely to occur, should we be concerned about that?
So are you interested in covering anybody who's just in the county, not necessarily residents?
Correct. That was where we were at one point with the discussion. Right or wrong, I'm not saying, I'm just telling you that.
Was there any benefit to covering people that are not necessarily residents?
We go back then, we went, Commissioner Cannon and I were on the board then, Mr. Day was not. We went back to the whole purpose of this was to provide emergency services to anybody that needed it in Custer County. Second layer of that onion is resident or non-resident.
Right.
But our initial discussion was we've got to provide ambulance service, air or otherwise, to anybody that's in our county that needs it. Now, do we have an obligation to provide it to non-residents? I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying that's where the discussion.
Well, and the thing is, they are being provided, of course, they will have the benefit of services. I feel like maybe taking away the fact that they are, the benefit that it's residents is the fact that then you're keeping money in your own community.
Now, you say they'll have the benefit of services.
So I think a better way to explain this would be folks from outside of our county would not be excluded from service.
Right.
What they would be excluded from is the membership,
Right.
the
And the
no
benefits of it.
cost of the backside billing, where they wouldn't be billed.
They gotta charge their insurance or their.
Exactly. So somebody who's out
They pay-
of, somebody who's out of county would still be allowed service through Reach,
Right.
but they would have to deal then with
Financially.
Reach financially.
Right.
So I don't think so I think making the distinction between, this is for us as a county, this is a payment issue. This isn't whether somebody's going to receive service or not. Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to leave somebody out on hardscrabble and say, no, we're not calling an air ambulance
Right.
for you.
Right.
I think in that case, it would be up to whoever the medic is on scene or the fire team that's on scene to make the call of which service might be more appropriate for that individual.
Emergency.
And then I have a number, but I'm interested in knowing your guys's number that represents the average number of flights out of our county annually.
Yeah, I mean, historically, we haven't seen a lot out of Custer County, but, is that, for whatever reason? But if you had something in place where, we know we aren't going to, create a financial burden on somebody, maybe this might be a better reason to do so. I mean, I don't know if that goes into the thinking of some of the ground folks or even some of the people who just decline a flight in general, just because they are afraid of that expensive bill, but at least that takes that piece out of the decision making, and we can do what's right for that patient.
Think about it. If it's 15 flights a year, we're paying $30,000 a year for 15 people.
Yeah, probably more
Not a
than
very
that.
good investment for the county.
Yeah, it's probably more than 30,000.
I know, I'm just.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying your
I'm saying our
contract.
contract is like 29, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty high price.
When you consider, Jason, do you have an average on what the balance bill is on the back end?
I mean, that ranges from a lot. Do you have something?
So based on, it's a Kaiser family, third party survey that they're estimating that people with insurance at least would be paying around $5,000.
I get that. That's not my point. The point is it's still a benefit that we're paying a lot of money for 15 people. Well, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It just seems pretty steep.
So Matt and I, just to kind of circle this back around, I'm sorry, La Junta has this contract with Reach. Now they have a bird stationed in La Junta, so it's a little bit of a different scenario because they have the bird there. When Matt and I talked to the city manager, Jason was kind enough to provide the city manager's information. One of the things that the city manager told us was when they sit down to do their budget, this Reach contract is not something that is negotiable in their county. It will stay in their budget because of the costs associated with air ambulance services and getting people from rural areas into higher levels of care. The city manager indicated to us that he's had a number of residents come to him and say, thank you for doing this for us because it saved their home. And they haven't had to worry about losing their roof, a place to live, et cetera. We also followed up with their fire chief in La Junta, and he was also very supportive of the service. So we've talked to a few people. We haven't done a full investigatory entering into this phase, but we at least have some good positives from what has been shared, at least to Matt and I, about this.
Yeah, I've spoken with their city manager and their county commissioners out there in Otero, and they all spoke highly of their arrangement and their membership with Reach. So
Have any of them mentioned how much maybe it's kept in their community?
No.
And that'd be and that would definitely be something that I'm a data person and I like to see that kind of stuff. But I'd like to see, if we do enter into something like this, tracking the kind of dollars that we're keeping in our community versus what the potential for going out could be.
Yeah, and as an elected official, I'm probably as concerned or maybe more concerned about how many flights go out of our county. On the average, every year, I believe it's 12 to 15. To Mr. Canda's point, then we have to look at that and say, okay, that's divided by our 30,000 divided by that number of flights. That's how much I mean, those are the facts. Can't get around that if we have a grasp on the number of flights.
So just to give you the count that Wet Mountain had for last year, we landed an air ambulance 29 times.
Okay.
And that's not counting Wetmore or
For transport for injured people, not search and rescue.
injured. That's just for
Okay.
Wet Mountain Fire. That's not counting search and rescue.
Okay.
So yeah, we had 29 plus Wetmore plus.
Gotcha. And with respect to that, maybe those numbers were non-EMS district flights, because that's what we were struggling with then, is how to get these flights covered that EMS wasn't, or calls, not flights, and some of them ended up being. So maybe that was the 12 flights that were not
That makes more sense.
within the hospital or the ambulance district.
But yours are multiple services, all three from 29 split by 3.
No, it was 29 requests from the ambulance in our district.
That's
So
what I
that,
mean.
yeah, it just,
It wasn't reached doing all 30.
and no, it was whoever
Right.
really was whoever the closest
Right,
that
so-
we could get at that point in
So
time.
the coverage would be even less. That would be like 5 for each.
Yeah, and then in our case, then you'd have to sort through the data and figure out how many of those were residents.
Right.
To have an intelligent conversation about the impact on our county.
Right.
A helicopter comes and flies somebody out that was from Seattle. Well, that guy was a core, sorry, bad example. Not from Seattle because he didn't survive, but somebody that did survive that was a non-resident, different conversation than what we're having here about a membership. Right? So, yeah, I guess to get a sense of that, then we'd have to try to come up with how many residents of Custer County were flown on an average over, let's say, the last 5 years or 3 years or whatever. Right, to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, it's not super easy data to
Yeah.
tease out. And would take some significant amount of time to do so.
And how many people go to Heart of the Rockies for a heart attack or a stroke that you guys don't capture because it didn't originate in
Right.
Custer County as well?
Right.
If they're seeing a cardiologist, that's been referred from the clinic here up there in Salida, or any other specialist, that's probably where they're going to go, for a lot of their care. How many are flying out of that area that originated out of Custer County?
So would any other air ambulance go to Salida? Then, given that scenario, they would. Yeah. That's where the preferred destination has to be.
Yeah.
And I'm compelled to ask this. I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. I'm assuming Reach Med Trans, is it Transmed? The whole
They're all
corporate
part of
thing.
Yeah.
You must have some kind of a business arrangement with Heart of the Rockies Regional Medical Center.
No business arrangement in this sense, no.
Okay.
We rent out, a hangar and quarters there, but that's it. So there's no kickback or anything like that.
Nothing an agreement to say everyone we can fly here will fly here.
Right, no.
Okay, because I've already heard that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
true.
I mean, it's
Not true.
a critical, it's a critical care access hospital. They don't have a cath lab. They don't have a stroke center. Those are the things, that you have to go to the front range of.
And I will say, we have captured even current members out of Custer County who have flown from Heart of the Rockies. And that's where we see quite a few of our transports of people from this area. It's not necessarily just in here.
And then one of probably the fine print on this back page somewhere, it must probably says that the air asset staff will make the determination whether or not that is a flyable case.
It does state that they have the final say.
Yeah.
Even if they show up and decide they're not going to take them. Is that right?
Flight
Is that
crew
what
could
does
say
that mean?
we're
The
not-
flight crew
Yeah.
determine.
Before they are
Medical
dispatched or
necessity.
during the
When they
On
show up
scene.
on
on
scene.
scene, so
Yeah.
they can just take off.
Yeah. And that's happened before. I mean, there's been times where somebody did not need
Or they refused it.
or refused it, and then we just fly back, and that's at no cost to anybody.
Okay.
So it's only if we only bill if we actually fly with them.
Okay.
But I think it is important to need to understand that just because I've got a broken leg and I call for reach, doesn't mean reach is gonna fly me.
It needs to be emergent. So
Right.
that's the thing, emergent or critical care transport. So, if they're on certain medications, it could be a pretty stable patient, but maybe they need, some serious pain management, and that may not be available at the local EMS, to put somebody through a lot of pain, to go up to Pueblo. Yeah, we could fly that, and that does meet
That's a
flight
good
criteria.
question. Well, go ahead. I'll ask mine after yours, Ken.
Mine is in relation to this then, because there are times when we have trouble staffing a second ambulance.
Right.
We have one on a run already, and I could pretty positively say that there's been flights called in because of a lack of transportability by a ground ambulance.
Yep.
Is that something you will still fly?
Yep.
Or is that something?
Because a lot of times that will meet that criteria. If you don't have a ground ambulance or a mutual aid agreement with another ground ambulance within, certain specified amount of time, then that could definitely bump that up to meeting flight criteria.
Okay.
So, and a lot of that is laid out in, the considerations are laid out in the RETAC, the local RETAC considerations for air ambulance. So that information's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's three ways to get where you need to go if you feel like you have an emergency. One's by yourself, self-done. The other one is by ground ambulance, the other is air ambulance. You get to choose. So if you decided, I could go on a ground ambulance, but I'd sure like to fly there and get there quicker.
If it's emergent,
Then but who's going to determine that? The guy on the flight
Yeah,
crew?
so-
The flight crew when he shows up. Right?
yeah. But if the ground says, hey, we can take this is totally appropriate for us and we can do it, then they make that call. If they say this needs to go by air, then they call us and we'll get there. And most of the time if they're calling us and saying this is outside of our scope, then we'll cut,
Yeah, I think
we're not going to say no. Right.
The question was, if you got $45 for one flight or for any flight you need whenever you need. For any of them.
For any of them.
It's different than what it was proposed to us before.
Yeah.
One flight deal.
Yeah, no, I don't
There's
know.
no-
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no limitations to how many flights. If, resident
The
takes
guy got
2.
really unlucky and he got busted twice in a car.
Or yeah, let's just say he comes home from having a stroke and,
Okay.
the chances of having another stroke,
Right.
if you don't
Increases.
take
Got
that
the one
medication,
flight thing. that
he
was
can fly
supposed to be
again,
got
he or she.
email. Go ahead. Ken.
Kind of brings up another question then. If the county were to enter this contract, and so everybody's a member, so to speak. I know the guys on the ground can call, dispatch can call. Can the individual residences call
No.
So
whether
it'll
they are a
be,
personal member?
no, even if they're a personal member, we instruct all of our members, they're going to call 911 in an emergency. That is their first line, regardless of their member or not.
They just don't call you up by an agent.
No, they don't. So it all will get filtered through dispatch, first responders, all of that. And then as far as the hospital to hospital transport, that is usually then set up by the
The
hospital.
facility.
Yeah.
But as a private citizen, you have the right to request a flight or an air ambulance if you're willing to pay for it, correct?
I think so.
Yeah,
I know it is.
it still needs, and it's,
Emergency.
that's really kind of an abuse of a resource,
Mhm.
because if I'm flying you for a broken toe and your neighbor 20 minutes later has a stroke, now you're just taking that resource away. So we can do planned or pre-scheduled flights, but that's under a different program. So this covers emergent or critical care transport. So if it's not emergent, we're not going to fly you to the Mayo Clinic. If you want that, that's a totally different thing.
Would do it, but somebody got.
But that's a different, yeah, that's a different type of flight.
And then you would, as a business, notify all the residents of our counties that they've been provided a membership.
Yes, so what we do is we give them the information so they understand what it covers. And that it's been provided. And then we also do give them the option within that letter to upgrade if they choose at that time.
And the 570 people roughly that are current members, they're just absorbed into the numbers.
So what we do is they have an option, and what we'll do is give them the option to kind of pause their own personal, depending on if they want the extended or not. We end up working that out. So let's say I already have purchased a 5-year membership. I'm only 2 years into my membership and I have 3 years left. The MSP will take in place. We'll just back their personal membership. That way, if ever the MSP, doesn't go through for a year or what have you, then their own personal coverage will kick back in. And so they're not losing any of their previous investment for membership.
And I've also had this question asked of me. If I'm unable to respond to the first responders that I'm a REACH member, obviously in a countywide MSP, your guys would know, hey, call REACH, don't call St. Mary Corwin, because we know this guy is a REACH member. He's a resident. Is that a reasonable assumption? I'm unconscious. I'm bleeding out. At that point, I personally don't care who flies me as long as somebody does.
Right.
But the whole point is I've already paid for this, or somebody's paid for it. So do they have a little ID thing, or?
There is, there's stickers that people can put on their cars that identify them as members. We also provide a card that we recommend they put behind their driver's license. Then that way, if they are, unconscious or something like that, first responders pull to see their driver's license, they see that they're a member as well. But it would be a given that if they are a resident.
You could have a license from any state, because I know somebody in Florida that owns a big pasture up here, so they can.
Yeah, so if you put that card, I'd probably put it in front of my license, so that's the first thing they pull out. They see it and they're like, oh, okay, cool, and then.
The other thing we started offering is little stickers that you can put on your insurance card or driver's license or anything like that.
Somebody's gonna try to find out.
Right, so it's just a little sticker. You're not having to worry about a huge card or anything like that.
That'd be best.
And a lot of it's education. I'm always available if this is something that goes through to help educate the public and be a available resource.
I think some press releases to the public would be appropriate in this case, if we were to, as 3 entities, come together on this.
Not all incumbent upon them to do.
Right. I think some of that would be based on us to get that information out as well.
And West Custer Hospital is tentatively agreed to split this by a third.
There is not full support amongst our board currently. The dependent factor was to make sure that, first of all, we had all 3 entities on board before they take a final vote. I do believe that they are amenable to this based on my direction and input to them, that I think this is a benefit to our community.
Okay, let me make a quick one because we're getting late here. Just for the record, the county is required to provide ambulance service, and we did that. And then in an agreement with the hospital district, turn that over to you all to do and cover all the county. And we had that argument.
Not true.
I know. And we've had the argument on what that meant.
Yeah, that was the
big
bone in the crawl.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this air ambulance is not a requirement. Making it clear with everybody. It's not like a state statute like the other is. And so what it does do, though, if we do go along with this, it puts the county in the business of providing medical care from here forward. And that's something that we have to consider as a county. That's a big deal, because like we've said, we're paying a lot of money for some use, not all of it. So that's why we need time too. We need to understand where you are and because and that's probably what the next discussion is. You guys are talking about merger. We probably ought to talk about what's going on here so we can make some decisions too.
Yes.
As part of this. So why don't you get into that before we run out of time? You got another one?
Well, and I think in regards to that, I think basically, if not all three entities are on board, that changes the whole discussion because if not all three are agreeable to split this, then basically this falls on its face.
That's exactly correct.
Split.
That is
like I saw some hesitation. What is it? Not thirds. Take that probably.
well, we were looking at thirds.
For you?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if Matt was.
Well, he might not be. I might be able to divide that a little bit out of the EMS and the hospital district. So we might be able to absorb a little bit more of that. As far as the fire EMS merger, this came about when Mr. Fogel was the EMS manager. Mr. Fogel presented to both myself and Mr. Nolting the idea of a combined fire and EMS district. Currently, as you know, the EMS district falls under the hospital district, which due to boundary issues has created some very big problems for the commissioners and for the hospital district. One of the things that we see is if we can pull EMS out of the hospital district combined with fire, it offers some advantages in financial opportunities that right now neither agency is able to obtain. It also might benefit our county in the sense that we could look at redistricting potentially the zones in which fire and EMS cover rather than what we currently have, which is a hodgepodge of messed up lines. So that's what we're coming to you basically to ask permission to enter into a discovery period because we are well aware that the commissioners license EMS into a discovery period to present to the taxpayers the idea of a combined fire EMS agency with redistrict boundaries. And I know Mr. Day and Mr. Flower have made it very clear to me and to Mr. Nolting that Wetmore needs to be included in this. And because of the issues that we're having out there. Yeah. And I think based on some of the conversations that Matt and I've had, Wetmore's a very real possibility of bringing into the inclusion, maybe even some business opportunities with the current situation in Florence and Penrose.
Stole all his thunder when you said you already knew.
No, my question is actually a little different than that. I was going to say early on in the discussion, but it's not necessarily that early on, but in some of my discussions with people in regards to ambulance service and EMS service to Wetmore, I was informed that EMS could not be pulled away from the hospital district. It had to be the complete mill levy. It all went to the hospital district and then they distributed that to EMS. Has that changed or because I'm hearing now that we can take EMS and throw them in with the fire?
So we're working through that. Kelly and I have been looking for the original language on the original mill levy vote. Kelly's indicated to me that she cannot find the original language.
You know the original language on the original move. You don't know what the ballots.
Yeah, what the original ballots measure was.
Well, we had copies of that.
Yeah.
No, not the original.
Not the original ballot.
Because, you know,
it was back in 87, 88-ish is what we're guessing on when that was approved. So we don't know if we can separate out the EMS mill levy from the hospital district. We don't know what until we know what until we know what the original language says. Then once we know what the original language says, I believe we can probably structure the question in an appropriate manner.
So if that is the case, then it would have to be completely dissolved and reestablished under a new question.
Right, correct. With new district boundaries, et cetera.
So the records didn't have it in the microfiche or wherever. Is that right?
And that would still beg my question. And apparently you have some conversation with Florence and Penrose because of their current situation as well. I'm waiting to see how the vote goes down there because we still have the 30 miles with the hard scrabble in between.
No man's zone.
Yeah, it's no man's land.
That's where I'd go ahead and call them and have them land in my side yard.
Well, and you know, based on some land there, so I'm gonna just put this on public record. Matt and I've seen the call numbers for Florence. They're significant.
They are.
I'm questioning why they're still running a volunteer service out of Florence based on the number of calls that they receive.
Why they bailed, because they couldn't meet them.
Right. And so one of the ideas, I'm just going to throw this out here, is actually putting an ambulance down in Wetmore and doing mutual aid calls with Florence. If their numbers are correct, and I think
buy a new ambulance to do that.
We have three rigs right now. I think redistributing our resources throughout the county to make them better appropriate for response times makes a lot of sense. I don't think keeping 3 ambulances up here in Westcliff is the best use of our resources.
We thought we discussed that at some point in one of our meetings.
So, I mean, if there's ability for billables coming out of the Florence Penrose area for mutual aid, we would have to determine what that number is, but I think there's an opportunity there.
That would alleviate the problem that the time frame with, if there was a crew available, we're looking at least 30 minutes for somebody to get to Wetmore.
But we could only do that under a merged fire EMS district. We couldn't do that under the current situation that we have.
Understood. But it is confusing because the county had the obligation to provide county emergency services. The hospital district was established after that, and then there was a contract said, okay, we're going to turn it over to the district. And what the language we had was all of it. The county was all of it. And then that's been in an argument ever since because I don't think there was ever a vote on the county turning it over other than the county commissioners doing it. You know, I don't think it was a countywide ballot. So I don't know, unless the hospital district said, I don't think the hospital district when it was established had anything to do with emergency services in that ballot.
It was pre-1993.
Yeah, it was an 88 or 6
It
or
was,
7.
yeah, 87.
I got a
That's what
copy
we're,
of the coordinated ballot in 93, but
Yeah,
For the hospital district.
not the earliest.
That was the one to add the, does it say on there, is it 3 mils?
Authorized to exceed the fiscal year spending of up to $50,000 annually. Doesn't speak to the mills. There's 7 mills now being
There
collected.
was
7908.
There was another
Almost 8,
ballot
almost 8.
issue that.
Yeah, I'll look. And the ambulance EMS is supposed to get 2 mills of that.
3.5.
3.5? Okay.
And was Wetmore assessed that or are they excluded?
They are not,
They
are excluded because
they had the other service.
as I understand, with the EMS district or with the hospital district being what it is, they're not assessed because it doesn't fall under the hospital district. So that's part of the concern is that we have one part of the county paying for another part of the county.
Right, that's not taking advantage of using that service or couldn't use it.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've had that discussion. We're not included in that. There was an agreement where Wetmore would be provided for, although we weren't paying our way. And there again, we're not a big drain, but we are a drain.
it definitely pulls the resource from the higher population part of the county to a much lower population.
Yeah, very much.
Lower. And we also I've had this conversation with Commissioner Day. We're very aware that the tax base in Wetmore, in the Wetmore area it's not a significant source of funds. And it's not going to support, a full-time ambulance. Exactly.
And that being said, we weren't, until Florence quit providing service, they, through their volunteer department, had provided service. So the hospital district, quote unquote, did not have to provide that service. So for years, we weren't actually a drain until the last 2 years. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page on that, because they actually provided it. We're not in their district either.
Right.
And so geographically speaking, they are the best option available, but everybody's in the same boat now. They have trouble responding to their own.
Okay, so to move forward here, it sounds like we have to see what's going to happen with this merger.
Right.
We got to understand that what's covered, actually, what the taxpayers' obligations could be or will be. Because even with us doing this, it's another taxpayer obligation, because if we pony up 30K, whatever it is, it's something we can't do with our limited budget elsewhere that we're doing now.
Right, and we can't do anything without voters or.
No, that's right. So we got a little ways to go.
Yes,
before we can do anything.
this is opening this discussion.
That's fair.
And we're looking at least on this fire EMS merger, 1 to 2 years probably of discussions, getting all of our ducks in a row, but we want to at least investigate.
And just speaking for me, I'm 100% behind emergency services for all the county.
Right.
And we are obligated to do that, and we're doing it theoretically by the ground ambulance and the agreements we got and had with Florence before, and now that's something we do have to fix. And I know, like Kevin said, that they're voting down there on what they want to be part of something, but they have to be. So
Sure.
we've got a little bit of homework to do yet.
Right,
Yep.
yeah, and that's what.
And we're coming to this discussion a little late, especially since Wetmore is voting on this.
I wish you'd have gotten together
And actually,
6 months ago or a year ago.
Wetmore, on their mill levy that they have proposed down there now, they are bringing their EMS into the fire department because they have been a separate entity, although they occupy the same space. And they are asking for an additional 10 mil to do that.
From there.
It is a Fremont County bond issue. It is not, Wetmore was dropped from that discussion.
It wasn't that, right? It was or wasn't.
When they decided to pull EMS with fire, then Wetmore was dropped from the question. Although that being said, if they do get this mill levy passed, they are wanting to negotiate an MOU or something with us to provide service to Wetmore.
And just so that we're all on the same page on this, we're hoping to make this net neutral. I mean, other than the costs of the election and the vote, that kind of thing that would need to be done, the transition from the current situation into a future situation, the mill levy, there would be no increase.
Change in a mill levy total.
It would remain flat.
Whatever it is, the taxpayer paying the same amount of money. Got it.
And, with the study, we may find out that, like Brian and I've talked, some way of reforming the district or doing something else to help them out, but
I think that's really
we've talked to Kevin and stuff. It doesn't matter if you're in our district lines or not. We're wanting to help the community, the county, and do what's best. So we have to approach this as people who are wanting to do better for the citizens to see if we can help.
That's good.
No easy answers.
No. And we also are very aware that, we could go through all this work and the voters say no.
Sure.
Well, I would support moving ahead with discussions and
Definitely.
And then,
We'll wait for, who's gonna take the lead on bringing it back then, coming up.
Both of us.
Both of you guys
Yeah.
gonna work it. All right.
and then I would assume for the reach question, a conversation would be had during the budget process, number one. And probably a subsequent commissioner meeting to discuss how we feel about that.
And see how it smokes out. See.
Very
Do you
good.
guys need a resolution for moving us forward?
Not until you get.
I wouldn't
options
think so.
together. No,
By
don't
consent.
need a resolution.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for sitting through.
Thanks for sitting through that.
Yeah.
Excruciating.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, appreciate it. You guys have any questions on house, you know, what it will look like, or if you need more information,
I will.
let us know.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Are you in charge of all the air ops or what?
For Salida, currently
Did I
for,
talk to you on the phone the other?
yeah,
I did.
yeah, and then all of Alamosa and Del Norte.
Okay.
Down
Oh, yeah,
there.
you mentioned that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
so.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Good to see you, brother. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Kara.
Me too. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. It's kind of an old card.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah, so, anyhow, well, if you guys have any questions or you guys need additional information, just let me know.
Thanks.
And if you want me to walk you through any scenarios as well, I'll trade you with you. Appreciate it. I think I got your number. Do you have a card?
Yes.
Have a great day. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Our cards.
So let me give my number.
I got you already.
Appreciate it.
Want your information, your new
Where do you live?
I live just north of Unit. Oh, okay. I live at top of Chalk Creek.
Oh,
Right there in front of the entire reservoir. So
That's a terrible place to have to live.
awful place.
Well, thanks for coming down today. I appreciate it.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks
Yes,
again.
sir.
All right.
Take care.
Yep.
Okay, we can move on.
I'd be proud.
One thing before you move on, the county does not have a statutory obligation to provide ambulance service or emergency services. Chose to do that.
That's right.
Turn it over.
Right.
That we should,
Take care. Thank
but it
you.
was, I thought, I have to look at the language, but I thought that was a requirement that each county had.
No, no.
I don't know where I got that, but
We were providing it, but we elected.
Yeah, I understand that.
Turn over to the hospital district.
I don't know how that came. Okay. All right, so next item is if there's anything else on business wise, additional item, Ken?
None here, sir.
No, me either. And we got a little time, not much, for public comment, anything in here right now? Anything at all? Yeah,
Can I
Kelly?
just give you an update on the scales?
Oh, yeah.
Because our blue tag ran out on the 1st. And the gentleman from the Way Company had not come up, but I talked to him yesterday and he's been in contact with the state. They gave us a 30-day extension because bringing those trucks in from the north is working.
Sliding it the other way now.
Mhm. And he said it's just gonna take a while, but he said if we can just keep doing what we're doing, he'll come up in about 3 weeks just to
Certified.
see if we can get certified. And if we can get certified, then we'll keep doing what we're doing to where they can get to the point where if it's moved off a lot, they'll secure it somehow underneath so it won't move back.
Roller bearings on it somehow. So the amount of weight it takes to balance it out is getting less and less now. Is that what you're?
Well,
seeing?
the scales are just
Not
zeroed
right.
out all the time now. Dave, thank you. Dave said that there's only been 1 or 2 times where it's
Good.
been off and it's only been off like 20 pounds.
Okay, good.
So better than,
Not that 800 pounds.
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, anything out, anybody raising a hand out there? All right, I don't have anything else. Or make a motion, or do we want to declare this thing over?
It's up to you.
Make a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I've been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
I
Great.
Thanks.
So Board of Health at 1:30.
1:30. Be there or be square.
Be there or have somebody call